Hey, we're here with the summer reading program.
We're back and better than ever. It's the
Episode
show everyone's
3.
been waiting for.
They've been waiting for it. What's going to happen?
Probably nothing good for Jessica.
I'm really sorry about it. I may have loved it. You don't know. Look at this guy.
I don't know. That would be a
Is yours
real
bobble?
surprise.
Are those bobbles?
Mine's
No?
not a bobble. I love him. I think
He is cute.
this is one of my favorite. I don't own we talked about pops. I actually have
Yeah.
a 10 pop maximum. And now you've been to my
Oh,
space. So you've seen like they're
yeah.
not kind of everywhere.
Right.
And I have a rule, like someone gives me one or I really want one, it's like one of you gotta go. It's like you can't. But this guy, he's been in my collection since I got him like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So
He's
I
a
just
good
think
one.
he's a good one. And he's well made and very
Yeah.
sturdy without a base even. So yeah.
Nice.
I love
nice.
your bubble though.
Yeah, he's got the webs on his. I like that. They look
Oh,
good.
I do love that. I have
You
a
know?
Spider Woman Jessica Drew one that's got like her like cape in the
Yeah.
back is like that's cool. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Good times.
Love it.
I
Love
also
it.
got my Bucky here.
We were chatting before about your Bucky's
I
merch and the haul. When you do your haul on Thursday,
should have had
I know you showed
Bucky's.
some last Thursday. You got to show your Bucky's haul.
You're
The
right.
people want to see it.
You're right.
And by the
Here's
people,
some of
I
it.
mean me.
Here's some of it.
It's true. It's true.
So, yeah.
I'm very happy that you got out there. I don't have a plush Bucky. No beaver
You need
tails
it.
here.
You need it.
I know. I'm kind of jealous now. But
I mean,
Neville
he's so
would
cute.
destroy it. So
What if you put him
we'll
on like on
see.
the top of a shelf or something?
Maybe.
Like, I'll probably be doing that. I just love how he's popping out of his shirt. I just love it. Got a little
He
crop
has
top.
that beaver has swag. I
Yeah.
don't care what anyone says. That hat is dope. He has
It
come
is
full
dope.
circle.
It's like corduroy or something.
I
love
know.
that.
You know, well, no, you don't know maybe that they have this is not sponsored by this is not our not sponsor.
No.
This is the priest not sponsorship of Bucky's. They have holiday merch for Bucky, like all the seasons that change: Valentine's Day, Halloween, Christmas. I haven't seen the Christmas one yet because we got our Bucky's. When did we get our Bucky's? Was that in April? I don't remember. But either way, maybe we have. Maybe it's been a year. It's been a year. Yeah. Yeah. Because it was last April. I didn't go at Christmas, but I heard there's a Christmas tree, like of all Bucky's, just Bucky's in the tree.
Oh my gosh.
I got to see that.
I need that. I need a little plush Bucky with a Santa hat. Stop it.
Yeah, they got to have that, right? Like that's.
I mean, I need it.
I did get Halloween Bucky socks. I do love them.
That's exciting.
But I probably need more holiday. Like I need to work him into my holiday decor.
Yeah.
It's like the 2023, 2024 goal.
We'll have to visit during Halloween times for sure. That's very exciting.
I mean, also because it's the best season. It's season of Jessica, born in October.
Absolutely. And Reid.
And Reid. Quality Libras.
Yeah.
Quality Libras.
Love that.
I don't do astrology, but then when someone told me I was a Libra and I like started talking to people and I'm like, oh, some of my favorite people are Libras. And I just think we're great. I don't think it's a bias. I think we are genuinely. Name me a bad Libra. There's probably a bunch. Actually, don't do that.
You're like, don't do that.
Actually, don't. Anyways, as we just teased, the flow of the show, if it is your first time watching, we're going to have our not sponsor for the week, which I'm pretty excited about for this week to hear. We have our gold star, or in Kristan, trying to one-up me, our rainbow star segment.
Right.
And
I'm going to do live.
The live unveiling. We'll do sort of our non-spoilery thoughts, and we will do both Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane and the Superman books in that segment. So we'll be spoiler-free for both. And then we'll give our star rating. Then we'll do the book report, and that will be full-on spoilers for both. Although, tease, I don't know that you can really like spoil most of these. Definitely.
I agree.
Secret Origin, probably not. And like Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane, I don't really think so. Maybe some in Rebirth, but I think you should be fine no matter what order we go in. And then we'll end in Beach Reads. We'll talk about, I'm really excited for next episode. We'll talk about next episode's read, what we're currently reading, and we would love to hear what you are currently reading, when we get there, because I've gotten some good suggestions from people in the chat. So
love that. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and we do have some folks.
Yeah, there's some people here. Cycle Cleveland, hello. Thanks for being here. He is reading about the life and death of Errol Flynn. I love that.
Are you an old Hollywood fan, Cycle? Because I am. We could talk. I love that.
That's awesome. And James says, Kristan reading Superman.
The
Kentucky and HE double hockey sticks freeze over. Nope, doesn't look like it. I called my aunt in Henderson and everything is normal. That's funny. You know what? It was raining a lot earlier, so.
It is true. There are storms that came through and that will come through tonight. But we're blessed right now. Yeah.
We'll see how many stars she gives it, Mark. Yeah,
Mark, I've had anxiety. No, just kidding.
William says, good afternoon. Hello, William.
Hello.
And Hayden. Hi.
Hey, Hayden.
Elon is here. Good evening, everyone. Chris and Jessica, you must read the book. I've just finished The Black Water Lilies. It's an excellent crime comic. Also, they're bringing back Furbies. Oh, hold on.
A lot just happened in that comment. Crime comic.
Yeah.
But a Furby crime comic would be.
I'm like, where's my notebook? Okay, here we go.
Like Detective Pikachu.
I love everything about this. I'm going to look this up. Thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah, I haven't read. So the crime comics I've read the most of are like Rucka crime comics, but I actually haven't read like a ton. So I will definitely make note of that.
The black. I'm writing it down. Water.
Lilies.
Okay, love
and
that.
Furbies are coming back.
Furbies.
Yes. They never died. Truly, I just want to say, I know everyone has a version of this story. I act like this is like news to people, but I got a Furby like, the rest of America. Yeah. And at one point I put it in my closet, like not in an angry way, just like I put it in the closet. And like, I swear to God, like 2-3 years later, so it was jostling with some stuff outside of the closet. Yeah. It started talking and I was like, scary.
I mean, the real question is, what kind of Furby did you have? Like what it looked like?
I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was turquoise with purple spots on it.
Ooh.
So it kind of looked like, Sully from Monsters, Inc.
Oh, I love that.
I feel like, yeah, I'll have to try to find it and send a picture. What about you?
Well, I got mine in the height of like, we can't find Furbies. You know?
Like we couldn't afford Razor scooters. I think
right. But like Furbies were just flying off the shelves, right?
They were.
So I kind of just got the one I could find at Toys R Us. And it, of course. And it was black and white, so it was kind of like a tuxedo kind of
classic.
Furby. Yeah.
I love that. I love you keep it classy over there.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know where that Furby went. I wonder if it's still in my attic. My dad's here. Dad, is it still in the attic? Do you know? You probably don't know. Hello, Mark. Thanks for being here.
Mark.
Hi, Freddie. Mary, are you traveling? Is that means?
Mary, you are always in the car on Sundays at 1:00.
She goes to visit her mom on Sundays.
That's right. And goes to that sweet Ollie's on the way.
Oh, yeah. Have fun, Mary. Superman's badly bro.
I did come prepared. I just want to say real quick, we'll talk about it. But I'm actually not afraid of like what Kristan will say. Like we'll talk about what my expectations were and are. But like the way people came for Superman in the chat last time, again, I'm fearless, but wow. Okay, guys.
I was surprised too. This doesn't usually happen. Like people aren't usually on my side,
Kristan, that's so interesting. We're going to get into it, but that's so interesting because people very often are like, well, I won't say what they said when I was younger when I said I like Superman because it's very politically incorrect and rude.
Oh.
I know. But like even today, people are like, Superman's lame. He's corny. He's boring. Like that's very common. I actually rarely meet someone in real life. I think Maddie is one of the few people that I've met like in my adult life, in real life, that like shares my love. It's crazy.
That's so strange because I hear the opposite.
What are we doing?
Like,
we need to swap.
Like, I know. I'm just
Freaky Friday.
I'm like, I don't like him. And people are like, he's the best. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm happy for you.
Sure. All right.
That's what, that's what's going to be good about this conversation though.
Absolutely.
Like, I respect you and your love.
Yeah.
And that's that, right? Like, I'm happy for anybody. Also, I love your shirt. I do love your shirt. It's great.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Great shirt.
This is a great shirt. I've told Kristan it was retroactively now like a John Kent shirt, but this is my Pride and Superman shirt that I got several years ago. And I get so many compliments on this while they don't like Superman. I just think they're like, yay. And I'm like, yeah. I think that's the vibe. But I love this shirt. And then it like when that storyline with John Kent happened, I guess that's a spoiler. Sorry. I was like, oh, retroactively, now I have like a John Kent shirt, and that's cool.
That's awesome. We love
Yeah.
that. More murder mystery than crime.
I love a murder mystery.
I love that.
That
Amanda, hello.
Hey.
Thanks for being here. Hi, Dad. All right, read Keepy 2 last night. Okay, I told you to read it and call me. You didn't call me. What's going on? And I started reading A Truly Remarkable Thing last week. Read some more. Do you mean an absolutely remarkable thing, Dad? Because I did gift you that.
The Hank Green book?
Yeah.
Chat.
I gifted him that many years ago.
That duology is so good. And it's
so
one of those
good,
that
right?
it's so unique and specific in so many ways. And yet when I think about like books I would pretty much universally recommend to people, that's one of them, which is weird because I think it's very
I agree.
off the wall. But yeah, something about it speaks to the human condition.
I 100% agree.
Both of those Greens are so good at that.
They're so good at
Yeah.
that. Yeah. That like in Anthropocene Reviewed is like I'm like I feel like I can give those to
I agree.
anybody.
For sure. Yeah, I 100% agree.
Well, Dad, that's exciting. I don't know why you didn't call me, but it's fine.
Love this.
Furbies are bad labels.
Put it on a t-shirt.
I mean, honestly, we'd wear that. I'm rereading Tomasi's Batman Robin. Is it
Jurgens?
Jurgen?
I think it's supposed to be Dan.
I was like, okay, Jurgens Action Comics.
Yeah, I think.
Tomasi's Superman, completed rereading Super Sons and caught up with all of Tom Taylor, Jonathan Kent books.
You're in your super era. And those are all solid reads. I haven't finished Tomasi's Batman Robin. Sorry. Go ahead.
I do want to read the Jonathan Kent books. I like Tom Taylor. You know, I like Jonathan.
Yes. They're finished too, I believe. I think the third hardcover is the last one. I actually pulled this out just because I love the cover too. But they're pretty solid. I will say, like, hot take, the love interest in this book, not a fan. I was not a fan of this character. So much so that, like, you know, when you're reading a book, you're like, when's the other shoe going to drop? I won't say whether it drops or not, but I will say that was the feeling I had when, like, from the second I met the character. But I do love it. And Kristan, you know why you would love it? Because the setup of this book is Superman's not there, as in Clark Kent, and John has to take over for him. So this is like, this book was actually, this is a love letter to you from Tom Taylor.
I mean, thank you, Tom. I do need to read it. They redesigned the Furbies now. The 90s one terrified me as a kid. I mean, they were pretty creepy. Thinking back.
Oh, absolutely. I got to look up what they look like now.
I was going to say, I haven't seen new Furbies. I had to wait years just to get that Buzz Lightyear. Wow. What's happening?
The Buzz Lightyear with the retractable flashing wings in the late 90s. It was sold out every Christmas by October. I remember that. My sister wanted that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's like Turbo Man. That's like a real life Turbo Man.
Real life Turbo Man. I love that. Did you steal Buffy's New Home? So Freddie sent me a wonderful box of things, and I put it down on the couch. I turned away to do something. I come back. Buffy's asleep on it.
Oh, do you have a picture?
And I sent it to him. Yeah, I sent it to him, and I was like, "Hey, I can't give him this box right now, but thanks, it's here. I appreciate it."
I love when they do that.
Yeah, so she is off of it this morning, Freddie. After this, I'm gonna go out there and hope she's still off of it and open it up. So thank you, Freddie.
Mm-hmm.
Excited about that. If only someone had a mystery TV podcast.
Do you, Mark? Drop it.
We want to
listen.
Yeah, Mark. What do you
Kristan and I both love podcasts.
We do. Hello, Crazed. Still love your avatar. It's so good.
It's so cute.
In this house, we love the Green Brothers. Absolutely. 1000%. They're wonderful. Lovely humans. Yeah. When I got into comics in the late 70s, the Marvel vs. DC was a huge thing. A lot of it egged on by Stan Lee and bullpen bulletins. So that probably helped me start hating DC Superman.
Oh, I forgot this was hereditary for your family.
Yes. Yeah. He passed that on to me. That's his fault. So.
I still love you, Larry. I'm still a subscriber. Still watch every video.
That's nice. Yeah, the Hank Green book, an absolutely remarkable thing. Yes, it's great so far. And I didn't call you on QB2 as it was pretty late for us anyway. I'm sure I was awake. I was trying to read stuff.
Kristan was down to the wire. We both, listen, heads up, everyone. as everyone knows, you've been living the time of your life and are recovering from a good time. And I'm living a rough work week. So we both struggled. I told Kristan, though, even though I pushed through some of this, I was still excited to sit down and chat. I still really love that we do this Sunday, which is because it's like the hardest day of the week thinking about going back to work. It's never
so
fun.
true.
Yeah.
It's so true. So yeah, we're here though, and we've done it. And I'm glad you're enjoying that, Dad. You will have to call me, though, about that other book. John Kidd books are solid. There's a crossover paperback that officially ends that run, Return of Kal-El.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Yep.
After calling Kristan to pick up a box set last week, I've spent the last few days working through all my Disney novels. Came up with a whole reading order involving watching the movies, too. That's awesome, Hayden.
Yeah, I saw Hayden. You were watching Beauty and the Beast the other day. A classic. I love that one.
Yeah, Hayden loves those Twisted Tale books. Is that what they're called? Twisted? Yeah.
I have an old coworker that read them a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I saw a little box set of the first few at Ollie's, and I messaged Hayden. I said, "Do I need this?" And he was like, "Yes." And I was like, "All right, it's Ollie's. It's cheap,
cool.
You know."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Jergens. Yeah.
Okay. I love John's portrayal, and Clark Lois are very sensitive. The new John Kidd book is about him meeting Ultraman and Injustice Superman. Cool. I had that buzz my favorite. Might still be in my mom's house. That's probably worth money now, Chris. Maybe. I don't know. Sacred, the brother that just came out. Yes.
Kind of. Although, okay, I always knew he was out too.
I think, well, and there's been like people who have been like, we knew this, but all right.
It's watch last week's episode to get a dissection about bisexual culture. Yeah, I think there's a video, Hayden, actually on YouTube that I saw. If I find it again, I'll have to send it. That's like all the times. It's like called like
I watched
all the times Hank
video.
Green came out, and I was like, yeah.
My YouTube algorithm was like, "You want this, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do."
Because he's married to a woman, and it's like you don't randomly just say that about yourself, like unless it comes up in casual conversation. You do have to like come out continuously, and that is just like a high profile version, and it was just funny.
Well, and I think it's that, right? And it's mixed with like he's being talked about a lot right now because of what's happening.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well wishes for sure.
Absolutely. I never bought into Marvel's bullpen, but that is mostly because by the time I started reading, Stan's issues with his own writers and artists were very public. Yeah, it's just a thing that's been around.
Larry, we'll share the evolution of Hank Green coming out.
If you would like that video, we've seen it. Oh, I haven't watched their videos, just read the books. Hayden, you should. There's typhoid. It's okay. Hey, we're feeling.
We've also,
it's we been, get it. And it was technically on Twitter where people grabbed it and went nuts.
Go nuts.
Go nuts. But you know what? We do have a not sponsor today. Speaking of nuts.
We do.
Real quick. Steven. Hi, Steven.
Steven.
Nice to see you here. I had drinks with Hank's wife once, and she's so nice. That's a very sweet.
Love.
We are not sponsored today by 90s Snacks.
That's right. That is right.
Jessica put together this wonderful slideshow for us to talk about these snacks.
Everyone knows when we throw it up if it's Reid or myself. Like there's that's the spectrum. The two great Libras, the Mount Rushmore of Libra. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, this is beautiful too.
Yeah, I threw it together. Well, we did. We came up with a list together, and then I did some like Googling. I say this every time, but like my favorite part is Googling the thing, and it just takes me back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I put in. So this is a hodgepodge. We've got 3 slides. The last 2 are very focused on a specific thing. So this is kind of mostly savory, except for one, obviously, that sticks out. But let's chat kid cuisine and Lunchables because wow, parents didn't have time in the 90s. They were like, we invented Lunchables, which if you're outside of the US, I do want to know if you had Lunchables. I'm very curious about this. But these were like prepackaged lunch that kids would usually take to school.
The best.
And then, well, we'll talk about it.
You're like, I hated them.
No. And then kid cuisine, which was like your parents are going to be late for dinner. And these were frozen and you just put them in the microwave all at the same time, which I have big feelings about. But dinner. But Kristan, what was your favorite Lunchable? And which one did you hate? Did you hate any of them?
Let's see. I loved the pizza one. That was
Mm.
probably my favorite, which is
Okay.
so funny looking back now because it really wasn't much of anything, was it? Like it's just like that weird bread, and then you put cheese on it and pepperoni. And I did also like the little cracker one there.
Mhm.
I'm sure there was. What were the other ones? Like I'm sure there were some that I hated.
I was trying to think about this too when I was like, I'm gonna ask Kristan what her favorite one was, and then I couldn't remember all of them. I will say, so my favorite was the crackers, and I really realized that like I think millennials have come full circle because you know what's really popular right now? Charcuterie boards. There's like
Mm.
classes about how to make them. Now when I go to breweries, they're like selling them. They're like you can buy them for like table size of 5 or table size of 6, which like I'm all in for. But did our love for like eating that way come from a Lunchable? Because it's the same.
It is the same.
It's at a
That's a good
dollar
point.
store charcuterie board.
Well, and it's one of those things like, so my favorite to like, if I were to bring it to school or something,
Yeah.
would be the cracker. I would never eat the pizza without like microwaving that.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. My least favorite was pizza only
Mm.
because my mom would get angry and my dad would get angry if I ate a Lunchable when I was like home on a Saturday. They were like for school lunches. And so that pizza tasted terrible because if you've never had it, it's like kind of hard pita bread with like marinara sauce, cold pepperonis, and cold well, I don't remember what kind of cheese. Is that American? I'm not
It
sure.
was,
Cold
I think it was
cheese.
mozzarella.
Mozzarella, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's only good if you microwave it. And I couldn't do that at school.
Well, I remember having them on like the weekends. Like I would never bring that with to
Wow.
school because like I
Larry
would
let
microwave
you?
it. Yeah. He's like, here,
What
I don't want to cook.
Larry's a cool dad.
Yeah. I also remember Easy Mac from that time. Do you remember Easy Mac?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
Loved
yeah.
the Easy Mac, of course.
Yeah.
And of course ramen was, I mean, I know that's still huge, but like I loved the instant ramen at home on the weekends, you know.
I never was around instant ramen until college, actually. And I actually
Oh.
really didn't eat it in college too much. It's like something that I just kind of missed culturally.
Gotcha.
Um, how did you feel about kid cuisines?
I remember having some. I think the only
Mhm.
ones I liked though were the chicken nuggets. Like I didn't
Mm.
want to go around some of the other weird meats and stuff. Not that that one isn't a weird meat, um but I you know, it was hard. I do recall the feelings of like when you would dig into like the corn and it was like solid frozen, but like the meat was fine.
That's right.
So yeah, kind of gross. Yeah, I would prefer something else.
I felt the same way, especially the desserts, because like low key, they would sometimes have like ice cream, but you couldn't take it out before microwaving it. But the worst one, the one I can still I can taste it actually, is brownie because it always sounded good. I love a warm
Um,
brownie. But it was like at one point it was a warm brownie, then it was room temperature, then they froze it, and then you like nuked it to death. And it just I can like taste this like burnt chocolate taste when I think about it. So it's a 0 out of 10 stars on the star chart for kid cuisine for me.
Yeah, that's no good. And
Not
it's
good.
funny you put in the Devil's Food snack wells because I remember those too. They were so good.
I included them because I love that. I feel like I don't know, maybe it happened before the 90s, but I feel like the 90s was when diet culture and like the trends of specific diets like really took off. Like I feel like I most heard about Weight Watchers towards the late 90s. Like people were talking about points, points, points. And I was like, what does this mean? But if you had a parent that dieted at any point in time, you probably had a favorite like one that they would buy, and Snackwells was my favorite.
Yeah, I think I
So good.
actually got those from my grandma.
Love
That's
it.
what I remember having them. Yeah, yeah. And I was like, they're good.
Larry's like, in this house, we have real snacks.
Yeah.
And you can't read Superman. And you can have Lunchables whenever you want.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And
Yes,
the
yes.
Ritz crackers and cheese, so good.
So good. And
So good.
where are they? I feel like they just disappeared too because they were around pretty late. And then lately, I feel like I never see them.
Yeah, I feel the same.
But I chose them partly because what is he doing? That guy on
it's not good. Maybe that's why they left. They were like, this
is
guy,
he showering in cheese and like washing his lower bits? It's very disconcerting. I don't like
disturbing. Yeah, it is disturbing.
it.
Especially with kids grabbing those. Yeah, it's not good.
It's so weird. And then of course I included. I feel like bugles are still popular, but I just liked this because it says America's #1 finger hat. Because like kids would put them on their like fingers
Yeah.
and make them like long nails and like do SNL skits with them. And I have like distinct memories of that.
Yeah, I remember like enjoying that part of it more than actually eating them.
Yeah, they don't taste well. They
Yeah.
come in different flavors, so like maybe if I found the
Sure.
right one, but
Right.
and then I put potato sticks, which I thought had disappeared, but I was watching some like Irish TV show the other day and they were talking in a grocery aisle and it was there and I was like, "Oh, they still have potato sticks?" Then I went to the grocery here like 2 days later and because I was like thinking about them, I saw them. So I don't think they went away. I just think they fell out of fashion. But they were so
Gotcha.
greasy and salty and good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's
Yeah,
good
the
stuff.
best.
And of course, Dunkaroos.
Name a more iconic 90s snack. I dare you.
Literally won't happen. Aren't they back now too? Like I feel
They're
like they came
back.
back, right?
Yeah, the images I used on the bottom are present day design of Dunkaroos. Like you go to the grocery and that's what you see. And then I just for nostalgia's sake put like what they used to look like above. And of course you see I'm pitting them against each other because I thought, Kristan, chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla forever.
Okay, I want to talk about this.
Okay, let's unpack.
Because I've seen the new vanilla in the store and they don't have sprinkles. But I always remember like the kind of crunchy, not crunchy, but those ball sprinkles that have like a texture in my Dunkaroos growing up. And I also always chose vanilla. But now if it's between plain vanilla or fudge chocolate, I think I'm going to go present day fudge chocolate.
Could never. Like it doesn't even interest me. I'm like,
wow.
Gross. Yeah.
Hot take. Okay.
It's like the Superman of Dunkaroos for me. You know what I mean? Like
that's the new title of this show.
Yeah, forever. Yep.
Yeah, but that's yeah, they are back. And yeah, I'm switching teams. I think it's gonna be chocolate present day.
Maybe we should get those for the last show we do.
We should. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to remember that.
We should also get the thing of my nightmares in the 90s, Gushers.
Those commercials. This is bringing me back. Like,
you know, do you have moments, Kristan? You and I both talk about kind of sometimes struggling with anxiety. And do you ever think, like, where did it start? This is one of my origin stories.
Yeah, that's fair.
These commercials, and this wasn't one commercial. Like if you weren't around in America in the 90s at this point, it was like every commercial for Gushers was like kids would eat them and then their heads would turn into fruits. And I had this irrational fear. Like I knew I was old enough to know like your head's not going to turn into a fruit. But I was petrified of Gushers for the longest time because of these commercials.
Yeah, that's what are we looking at on the bottom left here?
So I included this, and I want to know if anyone else's friends and schoolmates did this. What you're looking at is what I recall as like one of the many challenges of the 90s for snacks. One was Airheads, how many Airheads you could put in your mouth and for how long. But the other one was this, and it's basically another iconic of the 90s snack, fruit by the foot. So you would take Gushers, squish them together, and then wrap them in fruit by the foot, and kids would eat them like a burger. So when you bit in, it was just like the chewiest thing in the world that would like burst. And they were like disgusting to watch people eat, but I included them in case that took anyone else back. Maybe it was just my school, but I did find this picture, so I don't think it was just me.
Yeah, I don't remember experiencing that, but that looks horrifying. Yeah,
it is horrifying.
Yeah.
Also, thank you so much, Hayden. Hayden says we have Lunchables in the UK, but they are owned by a different brand here. Do they have a cute name like Lunchable? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I got a note too. Yes, we love a literary bicon. Absolutely,
we do.
And remember Jawbreakers, of course.
Ugh.
Of course.
We could do and may do 90s candies because they also are iconic.
You know what?
And Gushers were on the line. I'm not sure if they're like a candy masquerading as a fruit
kind of.
snack. Yeah.
Right. So true. It was like a gobstopper the size of your face that you took a whole week to finish. Yeah, I don't know how we did that back then.
That was crazy.
Yeah, truly.
Living on the edge.
There's no meaning that can adequately represent how old this conversation makes me feel. Same.
Sorry.
My dad's like, I didn't cook for her. I only started cooking 10 to 12 years ago.
Okay, I got it now, Larry. I have the full picture of why Lunchables were cool on the weekends.
In my country, we don't even get real cheese in Domino's and Pizza Hut, and these brands are geared at luxury experience here. Look at all you complaining about cold microwave real cheese. I mean, was it real though?
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, that sucks. That sucks. Freddie has potato sticks in his pantry currently. Love that. Jolly Ranchers at a rave is pretty iconic 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jolly Ranchers. Our version of Dunkaroos are just called Dunkers, but they're things like breadsticks, Ritz crackers, or nachos that you dunk into cheese.
So is there a kangaroo involved at any point, Hayden, or did you just have a sad childhood? You got to have the kangaroo.
I mean, honestly. Dad, what's the answer to this?
Forget therapy. Forget
let me know.
For professionals. Solve it right here.
Craze love Gushers. Love that.
No fear there for Craze.
No. We got Pepsi Blue growing up. A lot of kids obviously drank kerosene because they looked the same. That's horrifying.
I don't know what to do with that information.
I don't either. They were not meant for you, but good ads. When I finally had some, they were not good. Just tasted slimy.
Yeah, they do have a bit of a texture once they burst.
You know, it's funny. I recently tried these Gusher and Fruit by the Foot snacks. Really?
Well, now try making a Gushers burger. Level up.
Ooh.
Live on the edge.
It's just pure sugar. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the vibe.
Never had the Gusher burger. You know what? Do we need to have a Gusher burger challenge?
Oh my god! My dentist would be like,
they'd be like, "What's happening?" We would not be able to get through it. There's no way. Maybe not even a bite.
Yeah. Also, like, it would be so gross if we had to spit them out on camera. So yeah, that's gonna be a no. But we will do it in our spirits. We can turn off the
camera. It'll be really dramatic.
And then it's like a crawl at the end. You know, like at the end of True Crime or whatever, and he was convicted of blah. Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. See, my kids love it. Yeah, just pure sugar. That's right.
Pure sugar.
We had the cracker and pizza Lunchables too, but then we had like hot dogs and subs.
We did have subs. Yeah, subs is another one that I remember. And the bread was so hard on those. I do remember that.
I don't remember the subs.
This next comment is truly horrifying, Kristan.
We had no kangaroos. We had a cow.
I don't know how I feel, Hayden.
Hayden, what's happening there? Turkey Twizzlers that only came 3%. Turkey Twizzlers? Jessica, are you confused?
So it's like a meat Twizzler, like a Slim Jim, but like twisted and turkey?
That's horrifying, actually.
We're going to need clarification about what the other 97% is.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Your anxiety was another cool thing you inherited from me. You're welcome. Well, okay.
Gift the genes are the gift that keeps on giving.
Right,
man.
That's
love
our
that nostalgia.
Yeah. Good times. Love that.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, let's talk Gold Star segment, non-spoilery thoughts on our read. I've really gone back and forth. I was like, should I control the narrative and pick which comes first? But I really don't have a preference. No, I don't have a preference, but
okay.
Why don't you pick which one we do a non-spoilery review of? But we'll have to do both stars at the end because per usual, I have too much anxiety to be doing it live on camera. I put my stars ahead of time on there.
Well, I have too much indifference to do it immediately. I think I had to sit with it. I think we should start because we're talking nostalgia. This is nostalgia for me. And rereading it, it's like, it's clearly of the times, right?
I do love this. I want us to talk about how I love this cover.
It's great, right?
I love it. Yeah, I love the cover. It was a hefty read, Kristan.
You know,
we chose equal number of issues, but it was a bit longer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I felt the same. So, Spider-Man versus Mary Jane. I will say, I picked it because of the nostalgia. I read this as a teenager, and I loved it as a teenager. And looking back, like reading it now, I'm like, this isn't a Spider-Man book.
It's really not. I
It's
was
not.
gonna ask you, because I want to talk about why I picked the books I picked for you.
Yeah.
It sounds like, do you want to like talk a little bit about why you picked
Yeah.
this one for me?
Well, I wanted to read Ultimate Spider-Man, but then I was like, I don't know how many issues to pick. I don't know
Yeah.
where it leaves off. I would have to reread it again to really get a
Yeah.
feel of that. And that felt like too much. So I was like, okay, I have these and I know it's going to be a lighter read.
Mm-hmm.
Again, nostalgia for me as well. I mean, Ultimate Spider-Man has nostalgia for me also. I
Mm-hmm.
also read that as a teenager, but like I
Yeah.
remember really loving this as a teenager. And I can
Mm-hmm.
understand why, also rereading it, of course.
Yeah.
But I definitely forgot how much there's not much Spider-Man in this. I still don't regret the choice. I really
Mm-hmm.
picked it because I was like, okay, it has a definitive end, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not just like I'm gonna throw you in something and then we're never gonna finish
Yeah,
it.
for
So
sure. Yeah. And
um
there's not much of a lead in. Like I didn't feel like I had to know anything going
right.
in, so that also made it a bit easier. Yeah.
Right. It's just like its whole own universe
Yeah.
situation. Also, again, felt like great peak nostalgia because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they're in high school, they're dealing with high school drama and feelings, and
They are.
there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it. So that's why my head went there when
Yeah.
we were like Spider-Man, and I'm like, well,
Yeah.
but again, reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, not really a Spider-Man book.
It's called Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane.
It is.
I think it should be called Mary Jane Loves Spider-Man
Yeah, I agree.
because it is like a Mary Jane book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely Peter is so we have slightly different collections too, like just to
Hmm.
clarify because I don't know what's currently available, but so
Um,
we read
the ones you're holding are so
okay.
they
So
reprinted in those smaller, like digesty kind of
mhm,
versions, which you can get really cheap, like online at discount
they're like
retailers.
$10 a piece, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, IC has them, I think, for 6 or something. Like they're really cheap. So if you want them,
Yeah.
that's where they are.
And it includes some extra stuff. Like I had to text Kristen. So mine look like this. We have the same first cover.
Hmm.
And then this is my second cover, which is issues 4 through 13. And then this guy ends it, which is 14 through 20, but then it has like a season 2, and there are like 5 issues. And I don't know if season 2 continues, but we did not read those 5.
Hmm.
So there is like, it's a little bit, it's like this much of the book is a different kind of part of the run.
Yeah, so we just read the original run, which I thought I could look real quick and have a year this came out, but that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
My book's failing me. When did this come out? It has to be early 2000s or something. I can do
James. Yeah, well, I can say while you're Googling, I was reading this and I'll talk about my non-spoilery thoughts in a minute, but when you were saying like I picked this like for nostalgia, I was like, yes, because I could see like if a younger version of myself picked this up, why this would be like the first thing I remember when I think about like a run I love of Spider-Man. Like I do think, even though I do think it's a Mary Jane book, I still think like if I read this young, it would have imprinted on me in the way that X-Men Evolution did. It actually
Yeah.
really, because the art, it's like a manga style. I think
Yeah.
intentionally so. Isn't it supposed to like mimic like manga romance manga
I
or
could
romance manga?
kind of see that. Yeah. This was 2005, by the way, so makes sense.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
art. So it reminded me even not quite of the X-Men Evolution comic, but the art style did remind me a bit of that. It's better, I think, than that.
It is better. It is better than that. We'll give it that for sure. It also feels peak like 2005 art for sure.
It does. Oh yeah, a mix of that for sure. Well, what did you like think coming back to it, kind of in a general sense, non-spoilery?
Hmm. I still really enjoyed it, and I definitely
Mhm.
felt the nostalgia of it, and again, it just kind of brought back the feelings of like I understand why as a teenager I would really like this
Yeah.
as well. I am curious like what someone who didn't have the nostalgia
Mhm.
coming in would think. Of course,
Mhm.
it's kind of like X-Men Evolution. I'm like, if you didn't have that nostalgia, that'd be a bad
Yeah.
book for you to pick up. So,
Absolutely.
so
But this was better than that though, because
yeah,
I want to be just to really quickly, I think X-Men Evolution was so disconjointed. One thing about this that made it incredibly easy for me to get into is it's just a consistent story. No crossover is affecting it. It's not an adaptation of like a TV show where we're showing like vignettes where you have to watch episodes in between. So in that way, it is completely different than X-Men Evolution, which I totally agree would make no sense unless you watch the TV show.
Absolutely, and that's very true. And I think if you like any sort of high school drama kind of TV show, this really reflects that well, I think. But it's just set in a Marvel kind of universe. And I still had a great time with it. I mean, I think the characters, there were actual like laugh out loud kind of like funny dialogue.
Yeah, there were cute moments. Yeah.
Yeah, some like silly like references to the real Marvel universe too, which were cute. Like that little joke about Gwen and the bridge. I was kind of like yikes, but also funny. There were just like little moments like that, and I'm like, okay, this is fun, So yeah, I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was my journey, my non-spoiler journey. I made notes about my journey, and then I struggled with notes.
I also have notes.
Love it. Good.
For Superman, not this one.
I had trouble taking more detailed notes for this one for a reason that I'll get into in a second. But for me, when I started in volume 1, I will say I really love the art. We showed a little bit of it, but Kristan, if you want to show more, I think that would really help people see. It is a very different style. So I really did love the art. I loved the coloring, which colorists never get like a shout out exactly, but the coloring in this one was really great. There were a few moments, of course, with the art where you'd have like a side profile where someone didn't have eyes all of a sudden. That was like the time though. So like, I'm fine with it. It still happens today. I loved a lot of the iconic moments in my first volume, which my first volume was Mary Jane 1-4, Mary Jane Homecoming 1-4, and then Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane 1-3, which I'm hoping we did read the same thing.
No, we did.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I love the classic Homecoming setup, but and I was having a good time with it. I didn't feel like I knew who a lot of the characters were going to become. I don't know who Liz Allen is though. Like, is Liz Allen a character later, or is she for this series?
I feel like she's for this series, but I'm going to say that and someone's going to be like, she's in this run. I'm reading it now. I'm like, who's that? Yeah, I don't know.
But like Harry, like like Harry Osborn, Flash Thompson, like all these people I do like know culturally. So it was really easy to get into. And I had a really good time with this first volume, and I won't say my final star rating, but like my 4 is like very solid. And I felt like it was maybe 4.5. I was really into it. I will say, like, I closed it and I was like, there was like no Peter Parker until the very end.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, while Kristan is very anti Spider-Man because she inherited it from Larry, Superman, sorry. I am neutral about Spider-Man. I just haven't read a lot of solo Spider-Man stuff. He pops up for me as an adult in Daredevil, and then sometimes in like Spider-Woman stuff. So that's kind of that's exactly what I was gonna say. And I still haven't read a solo Spider-Man book.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So that was volume 1. I will say, like, volume 2, I liked the classic setup because I am a Superman fan. I love the classic setup of like the girl falling in love with the superhero version, and then just like totally ignoring the like actual person. So like that where she was like loving Spider-Man but kind of ignoring Peter. Liked that. The like Jessica plot where she was like emo flashback was very random to me in volume 2. And it felt, I think, towards the end of volume 2, which for me was 4-13, I just felt like it spun its wheels a lot. Like I became less invested in the interpersonal drama because it became musical chairs with Mary Jane. And this is a really hot take. I really hope people do not hate me after this. But what this book caused me to feel is frustration at Mary Jane. Like, instead of like coming here and being like, I read a solo Peter and now I like really have a new appreciation of Peter. I still like want to read more of Peter, but I was annoyed by Mary Jane. And I don't think that's how you're supposed to feel about Mary Jane, to be a potential Spider-Man fan. And yeah, volume 3, that repetitiveness just kept up for me. There were like the introduction, as you mentioned, Gwen Stacy's in this, like that was kind of interesting. There's a whole plot with Mary Jane. I can't say because it's a spoiler. There's a plot with Mary Jane that's interesting around secret identities, and that part was good. But ultimately it like petered off for me is the best way of putting it, just because it felt a bit repetitive. But I really loved that first I really did love that first volume quite a bit. So it was kind of like a wash for me in that sense, without
Yeah,
giving my rating.
I think I messed up. Yeah.
No.
I'm
I
like,
don't regret having read it for sure. No, not at
yeah,
all.
no, but I get your feelings, and especially in that second volume, like, I'm like, come on, Mary Jane, what are we doing? Like, I felt the same. I'm like, what are we doing
Homegirl
here?
could not make up her mind. It was pretty frustrating. So,
Yeah, it was. It was.
yeah. So those are my overall thoughts. But I do want to say I would give this without. I know we'll go into more spoiler details later, but I would say that like I don't think you messed up. I think if I had a different framing, I think if I picked this up knowing it's this like play on like romance manga, and someone put in the chat a little bit more context for the origin, but like if I knew that and knew it was more Mary Jane, I wonder if I would have been less frustrated with Mary Jane because I would have read it more like a Strangers in Paradise is like that. I love Terry Moore. I love Strangers in Paradise. It is so repetitive in some spots where it's like, we learned this lesson like 3 issues ago.
Yeah.
So I do think like a younger reader today could still get into this, and it didn't age poorly in that sense. So there are a lot of great things still in here. Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad to hear your thoughts like that. Yeah, I'll get caught up on the chat. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Turkey Twizzlers were banned in the UK for like 20 years. Yeah, what is going on with these Turkey Twizzlers?
We got to do an expose.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look that up. Why does it look like your 90s snacks are all straight out of a Nickelodeon game show? Because they probably were.
Capitalism, baby.
Spider-Man getting a headline and is good marketing. I mean, fair, I guess. After I got the new digest size of Media Hunt for OHCs, it was good stuff. Freddie, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah.
I'm really glad you liked it, Freddie. Yeah.
Season 2 into the third digest only has a SH. Okay.
Oh, okay. It's so short, Freddie. Like it's so thin. I do want to read it. I didn't read it because I just ran out of time, but I do actually want to read it before I return it to the library.
Yeah, and I've never actually read that, so I'm gonna have to like hunt that.
The art's kind of cool. I will. This isn't what the show is about, but the art's a bit different. The coloring, especially, is very different. But it's not bad. I do actually kind of like. It does remind me more of that early 2000s house style for Marvel, I think, because it reminded me of Runaways.
Oh yeah.
The art in Runaways a lot. Yeah.
Let's see. Spider-Man loves Mary Jane because Mary Jane deserves better. It's a take. Remember those aliens in slime you could buy an orb and they would become pregnant? What? Now that was a toy that gave me nightmares for weeks. I don't remember this. Do you remember this?
No, I remember buying slime or gack.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't remember.
Yeah, it was 2005 to 2007. Yeah, it was purposeful. They were trying to bring in young female readers when they noticed how much they were reading manga.
Makes total sense. Yeah.
I think it totally would have or did perhaps work as well. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Marvel's baiting me so many times with this kind of art. Then I read Mangaverse and X-Men Robin and learn my lesson. It's different. Lazalo's from the classic OG.
Here we go, Larry.
Here we go. Right. Freddie's like, hey, Lazalo's been around before Gwen and Mimj. She's Harry's ex-wife and mother of Normie, CEO of Alchemy.
Okay. She also rubbed me the wrong way. As her hair got shorter and spikier, she developed more of an attitude.
She really did. She was also an MCU Homecoming. No, in the comic, she's Normie's mom and mostly the antagonist-ish character. I don't remember her.
I'll have to look her up. I mean, I've seen Homecoming, obviously. I need to look it up.
Chris is also neutral on Spider-Man. Hasn't read much, but when he finally did show up, this made me want to read more of him.
Yeah, in that way it did work because Kristan and I still do. I mean, later on I will ask for recommendations for like starting place for Spider-Man because I genuinely still want to read more. I just barely got him.
Yeah.
I want to see it from his perspective more. And I did really like the issues that were a bit more from his perspective, which we'll talk about in the spoiler section. So yeah, I agree.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Listen, I'm not saying Gwen Stacy is the better love interest or more interesting character with Peter. All I'm saying is there's a reason why Spider-Gwen is so popular and not Spider MJ. Well, but
is there a Spider MJ?
I
don't know. This is out of my wheelhouse.
I'm a huge fan of the animated Spectacular Spider-Man, so this hits similar. Def recommend on D+ now and is less repetitive.
Okay.
Well, that's cool, Freddie. Yeah, we'll check that out. Aliens who make you pregnant are badly
They are.
Still
And
a
they
good
were,
chick.
I know, but I almost took it too far because I was like, Furbies are the dad, but I wasn't going to phrase it that way. Anyways, moving on.
Those alien toys are like the hype toy from early to mid 2000s here in the UK. I'll
I
send you a
gotta look
pic.
that up.
I'm
Yeah, please.
scared of that, Hayden.
No, I want to see.
You're like, no, please.
Please do. So I won't reveal my. It feels weird not to reveal our ratings. Should we? I can cover up
You want
my.
to?
Yeah, I do. Let me
Okay.
cover up what I gave. It feels wrong not to.
Okay. I want you to go ahead because I gotta get my stars ready.
Oh, you know what I'll do? I can't really cover it up now that I'm looking about how I did it. I'll just reveal mine by saying it and then you can layer yours. So I mentioned before, like I was thinking a little over 4 stars, like maybe 4.25 for the first volume. And then I would say the second volume is more of like a 3.5-ish. And then the third volume really took it down to like 3.25. So ultimately I sort of landed on 3.5. For people who do not know, that's kind of in between, like that was fine and like very solid. So I wound up with 3.5 there.
I appreciate that rating for sure. Let's see.
And if you read it and want to rate it out of 5, do tell us what you thought out of 5 as well.
Please. So I'm getting my stars ready. I'm going to use these like square ones.
Oh, I love the square ones. You didn't like the square or the circle, I thought, last time. We did circle last time.
Yeah, I did. I'm just trying to change it up, you know.
Yeah. Trying to show me up is what you're saying.
No, never. Although these are kind of big. Well, I'll figure this out. We'll figure it out.
You're limited in stars. You chose it for Superman because you're like, oh, we don't need very many stars on this one.
So I already got 2 stars up here. Here's the thing. I felt the same way you did. I think that first volume is quite solid, you know.
Very agreed. Yeah.
And I will say I reread it on Goodreads, so my old rating was on there, and I rated that first volume 5 stars. I would not do that now.
Right.
I think the first volume was 4 for me. And I'm kind of where you are. And I don't do the half stars because like I'm on Goodreads. So I'm like, I can't, I just, my head doesn't go that way. But I think I would feel the same. So I'm going to round up to 4. That's what I'm doing. Oh, and I only had room for 3. What do I do?
No, just put it underneath. They don't have to be in a row. There are no rules. We decided. No rules.
You know what? You're right. There's no, you know what I could do?
Eat a gusher. Your head turns into fruit. You've lost your marbles.
Do I want to like replace one of the 1 stars with this that has 2 on it?
Yeah, I love that. It will confuse us at the end of the summer when we do a quick look, but let's do it.
But I'm going crazy. Look at this. That looks pretty good.
Yeah, I know. I like that actually.
Okay,
he did such a good job. Reid.
I know, right?
But my husband didn't help me with mine. So.
Well, I am so sorry. You should get a divorce.
Or a husband. Or a spouse at all. Anyways. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And again, like I do think like younger me, if I'd read this whole run, even actually like 7 or 8 years ago when I was like getting into comics a bit more, I think I would have put it higher. So I could see why old you was like 5 stars.
Oh yeah, yeah. And again, I think the nostalgia feelings helped me with this as well, which we'll go into the next when we get more. I have more thoughts and things when we go to Superman.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Liz Allen's the Vulture's daughter in the MCU.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
Also, MJ has the Lois Lane issue. When written well, she's great. But mostly not because Marvel doesn't know what to do with her.
It happens sometimes with those love interests. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here, the moment of almost truth. So I will talk about why I picked what we read for Superman for our swap. So we read Superman Secret Origin, which is 6 issues. And this is an origin story by Jeff Johns. I believe this is pre-New 52. It's kind of funny because I didn't realize this, but I chose the sandwich. This comes, I believe, right before New 52. It's a standalone origin story. And this, of course, Rebirth comes after. We read the first 13 issues of Superman Rebirth by Tomasi. Why I chose these. So this was really tough. Kristan is a known hater. And so I think why I really struggled, it's true. Here's why I struggled. These aren't my favorite Superman books. They're not even, I'm not sure any three of these trades cracks my top, like, one maybe gets to like 10th place. So they're not my favorite, but I really thought about like what to choose because, you know, a lot of my favorite Superman stories are kind of like self-contained poetic love letters to Superman. I'm thinking like All-Star Superman. I'm thinking like I would say, I'm trying to think, For All Seasons, that's another one. Like there are several that I would put ahead of it. But when I think about those books, I think they operate on you having a base, at least like of the character, and then really make what you like shine in like a more poetic way. And that's, you don't have that. And so like, yeah, I could pick that. And maybe it's kind of an experiment. Like maybe if you read it, that would be better. And they're very short, but like ultimately I thought, okay, I want to do like a solid origin because to my knowledge, from what you have told me, you haven't read any solo Superman at all. He's been in the background of things, quotation marks, background of Superman Smashes the Klan. He's the main character.
But like, is he?
But he is. Name the other characters.
Which I love.
Name them.
I love
Name them.
The family.
Proved my point. Anyways, so you know, I thought like I want to do like a solid origin story. And when I think solid, this is the one that I prefer. I think it's a good vignette, like baseline. And I'll talk about why in my non-spoiler thoughts in a second. And then I did want to pick, because it feels like cheating to pick like a self-contained story. And so I did want to pick something from an ongoing run, which, as you pointed out when you were thinking about me reading a different Spider-Man, is really hard. Like,
yeah,
that's the thing about this like world of comics, is to give someone something like that, you do have to give them a primer, and that's kind of a lot. So ultimately I did go with Rebirth because you do like John Kent in Superboy, or Super Sons. So I thought like, okay, at least if she's hating me at this point, John Kent will be there. So that's why I selected what I selected. Do you want to do your non-spoilery thoughts first, and then I can give some of mine, or is that dangerous?
I want you to go first.
I don't think so. I think I want you to so we can end on a more positive note.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Then why ask?
Yeah, to be nice, because I live in the Midwest.
That's, it's fair. It's fair. Real quick, Freddie, in reference to Mary Jane, they can't accept the fact that she's a strong character and very feminine. Let her be a model actress. It's fine. Yeah.
Oh, that was cool too. I didn't know about Mary Jane being an actress until I was reading someone's review, and that was cool that they like got her into theater. But that was stuff that went over my head because I don't have the real like main storyline in my head.
Sure, right. It hurts me not to recommend Superman American Alien to people, but I can't separate the art from the artist. I don't know who.
That's a good book too. Actually,
I heard a lot of people love that one. Yeah.
Agreed though about what you're saying. It's Max Landis. But yeah, this is I also really think this is this is a dark horse. Like, it's an underrated Superman story for sure. Do you like how I just have all my Superman books?
It's perfect. I know exactly where you are. Yeah.
She's seen the space.
If Superman isn't the main character of Superman Smashes Clad, then I don't understand life. LOL. I mean, but it's not the point. Is what I'm saying.
It's her opinion. Yeah, it's her opinion. It is.
Secret Identity has like Clark Kent Superman at first. Still my number one Supes, though Up in the Sky hit the feels a lot more. But there's 2 or 3 issues that require nostalgia or knowledge.
See, Freddie, yes, and I agree. Up in the Sky, another potential one. Oh, I always save one thought for spoilers, but there were a lot that I did breeze through and was like, it was a pressure to pick an origin story because there are so many. Because to many people, even people who are not Superman lovers, but on the fence, or even the lovers themselves, like the origin stories are honestly some of the best stuff. I'll talk about why in the spoiler section, but yeah. Anyways, your thoughts on, we'll start with Secret Origin, your non-spoilery thoughts.
Do you want my exact notes that I wrote down?
That's your non-spoilery notes?
Yeah, I don't think there's any spoilers in here.
Oh God. Okay.
I mean, these are my notes.
This is an overview section.
You're like, don't do that.
Thoughts. Because I did take good notes for the detailed ones. So I don't know. Yeah.
Well, then you know what? I'll read these notes when we wait.
Okay, well, tell me your overall thoughts. You can pick a few things from your notes, of course, that are overall.
Well, the first thing I did put down, I'll read, which is a terrifying adult man head on little boy body.
Yeah. Do you want to show the picture now?
I was going to say.
I did warn Kristan. So if people don't know, intentionally so, Gary Frank drew this Superman to be Christopher Reeve Superman. Like, that's intentional. And so what is the result is horrifying. He looks, yes, correct. Yes. And I did warn Kristan about that, but I told her nothing could beat these babies. These babies are terrifying John Byrne babies. I think it's John Byrne. Yeah. That's terrifying. What is happening in these photos?
It is scary. It's scary.
So now you feel better. I just had to show you what else could have been the possibility.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I did say that. Okay, I'm not going to go to my specifics. So I felt like after reading this, I knew the whole story.
Of course.
Like I was like, I already knew all of these things just from pop culture references, right?
Yes.
So I did find I didn't learn anything new from it, and I kept feeling like I'm kind of bored because I know it all, right? And one thing I couldn't get over is I'm so aware that many, I don't know, people have told me before, I don't know, I haven't read this stuff, that often there's a reason, there's some kind of explanation when Clark changes into Superman, why people are like, who are you? But there was nothing in this one. So he would like leave. Clark would leave.
Adult
Superman
Clark
would come back. Yeah. And Lois was like, who are you? And I was like, okay, I can't.
Hey, Homegirl doesn't sound like that. But okay.
It just felt that dramatic. I was like, you just saw him. I can't get over this. So that frustrated me. There was no excuse. And I've heard that sometimes there's, reasons in other storylines and stuff, and they make it make sense. But I was like, this doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And
that guy just threw off his glasses.
Yeah. Well, in the movie, so I will say, and I'll send you this YouTube clip and let you decide. But one thing that I do think that Christopher Reeve's Superman movie does well is his transformation between the two does seem like an entirely different person, and nothing special effects is happening, but it's like the way he carries himself, even more so than the glasses. I think that actually interpretation does it the best, where I'm like, yeah, I also could conceivably believe these are two different people if I barely interacted with Superman. But I'll give you all of that. All of that makes total sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was my feelings overall.
Okay, I didn't get a good vibe on the feelings other than you didn't learn anything, but okay.
I said I was bored, so I was kind of like, okay. I'm bored. I know all this. I just felt like I knew it all. It's like, this isn't anything new.
Fair. For me, Secret Origin, the 6 issues are like, so the setup of the book is like, it's 6 points in Clark's life. The last 3 are kind of all in a similar time space, but definitely the first one, Boy of Steel, he's much younger. And then like Superboy and Legion of Superheroes, he's a bit older, but the last 3 are kind of the same. For me, my non-spoilery thoughts coming back to this for probably the 3rd or 4th time is I still think it's a really solid origin story. I'll talk about it in spoilers, but it touches on facets of the character that really speak to me and things that I'm interested in, like immigration and things like that. And lets those shine a bit. I also really like in this version, this Lex Luthor origin, which is, of course, I also realized you liked Smallville, or some of what you saw of Smallville. And this is one of the origins where it doesn't play into the story a lot, but Lex is in Smallville when he's younger, which is not traditionally the origin. But I do like that interpretation of Lex. I like the idea they met before, and I like the idea that his dad was a drunken from nowhere, because there's this mentality some people get when they have self-success, which I think, we should praise people who work really hard for what they get. Absolutely. Or not praise them, but that's good, good on you. But the mentality that sometimes that can create is a superiorness that is really dangerous, that other people shouldn't need any help because I did it myself. And that version of Lex having this origin contrasts, I think, a lot to Superman in a really interesting way. So I did like that inclusion. And I also think this interpretation of Lois, of Jimmy, are both like especially spot on. Like when I think of how Lois or Jimmy act or interact with Superman in like a tiny bit, this is what I think of. So I think it's very solid. The little baby or the adult head on the baby body also freaks me out. I also think like there were several moments with the art, and I knew this going into it. They just don't have good faces. They're kind of
No.
ugly, more realistic faces, I guess you could say. People caught in an odd moment, but not like always pretty to look at in that sense. So very solid is how I feel about this one in a non-spoilery sense.
I will say I was more interested in the moments with Lois and Jimmy and that whole dynamic and the whole like paper.
Me too. Yeah, I
Anything with
love the
Superman.
Daily Planet stuff.
I was like,
Superman
I'm here.
is in there. He's also in there. Kristan likes to forget he's in there.
No, I said I liked it more than Superman. I'm like, I care about these parts.
You liked those characters.
Yeah. I think I would have felt differently with everything else if I cared. Does that make sense?
Yeah, which is why I didn't pick All Star or these other ones, because I really think they especially rely on that.
Sure. And that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tricky. Well, what about also, we can't talk about it till spoilers, I guess. But I'm going to ask you how you felt about Rebirth and apologize for something I forgot was included in Rebirth. But we can't talk about it till spoilers. But I did warn you the second I remembered. Like I apologize.
And I heard the warning after.
That's not my fault.
Isn't it though? What if I would have already read it by then?
It's not my fault. You ignore my messages. No,
I was just reading.
I'm just kidding. Anyways, what are your, without talking about that moment, and I'm so sorry, we'll talk about it in spoilers. What were your overall Superman Rebirth non-spoilery feels?
That part hurt me a lot.
So I know. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was a lot. But I mean, I still like his son more than him.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of the villains I didn't care about, and the monster thing, I didn't like that either. Like that whole part toward the end, I was like, I don't care about this. It kind of just reminded me of, Super Sons was fun. Because I did have the moments with.
There are like 2 bonus issues of Super Sons in a way in here.
Yeah, and that was fun. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm sorry, Jessica. I just
you don't have to apologize at all.
I just felt the whole time I was like, this guy's not for me, because I care about these other characters more than him.
Yeah, and I want to get into in the spoilers. Like, I want to understand what it is that either like turns you off about him or makes you like ambivalent. Like, I do want to get into that more, but I do think we would probably get into spoilers to do that. So
sure.
I definitely
that's why I'm trying to like not be
yeah. My like overview is, so other than that moment that I forgot happened, so sorry. This is a mix. So Superman Rebirth on the whole for me, these aren't my 2 favorite trades even of that run, but you have to start somewhere, and I wasn't going to have Kristan read 50 issues. So for me, I think the biggest and my only real criticism of this book, honestly, well, I have 1.5 criticisms. Criticism 1 is it's a bit uneven in trying to balance early in this run the home life stuff and the bombastic like monster of the week stuff. I think it gets better as the run progresses at balancing those 2 things. And if you read it at the same time as Action Comics, because they're kind of meant to be read together, even though you can read one or the other separately, I do think, again, you get a more even reading experience. But like that was kind of frustrating because I would get super excited. We were like doing cozy things at home, and then it would be like, okay, monster of the week, which I was fine with once it like got going. But going back and forth was quite difficult. And I actually don't remember when I very first read that feeling frustrated or like taken out. I just remember being so excited, like my version of Superman was back. So that's one big criticism. The other one is the art changes a bit inconsistently throughout, and it's noticeable because I think when the art is on, the art is really good in this book.
I do agree with that.
Like really, really good. And then when it's off, it's not the worst, but it's different and it loses some of its charm, which I think this all Superman books, in my humble opinion, rely a lot on charm, like rely a lot on a very crisp look. I think they really benefit from that because Superman, whether people like it or not, is very Americana-esque. And so those two things are so intertwined. So those are some criticisms. But overall, like, obviously, I picked it. I enjoyed it. I love this version of Clark. I love how he interacts with Lois in that dynamic. I do wish there was more Lois in these first two trades. She obviously becomes a more important character as the series progresses. She's also a lot in the Action Comics run. And of course, John. I mean, the biggest difference between this book and that first book is like time has passed, a lot has happened, and John is here, and that changes. It brings out different sides of Clark and of Lois as well. So I really liked that a lot. And I really loved the Batman and Superman as dads, and like they had a couple moments that were sweet. And the villains, for the most part, even though I was annoyed they would show up because it took me out of Slice of Life, I still liked most of them and like what they brought out. Not all of them. Some of them were quite annoying. So overall, I still think this is really solid. I do think if you're gonna like go in and read them all, you should commit to reading through like the series. Like if people are interested in this, you know, especially as we talk about spoilers. But yeah, not the worst to me, and not the best of the best, but I think really good. I was happy when I read this the first time, and I was still happy rereading it.
Good deal.
Yeah. So let's talk about our stars. Scared, everybody. Scared.
You can go ahead and go.
So I did these together because I forgot when I was making this list. So I did an average of the two.
Yeah.
I gave 4 stars. For me,
Okay.
as you heard me say about 7 times, I kept saying very solid. That's what 4 stars means to me. So it's 4 stars.
Okay. I think I'm going to use some special stars for these.
Are they like flames?
They're like little shooting stars. We love
shooties. Because they take up more space.
I actually didn't even think about that. Because they don't take as much as the squares.
That's true. True.
You know. Yeah, I'm going to put together my average on these as well. Right?
Yeah.
Look at it. Look, there's more than one.
Yeah, it's really encouraging.
We love that. I did it.
Yikes.
Listen, here's the thing. When you get to 3 stars, you mean you enjoyed something, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you get to 1, you're like, I absolutely hated that. And I can't say that, you know, that I didn't have any like strong, like, oh, this is the worst thing for XYZ reasons. I have many books like that where I'm like, this shouldn't, not that it shouldn't exist, but I'm like, this sucks because of I don't have those feelings. I really don't. But I can't say it was something I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
you know,
that's fair.
So there we go.
That's fair. And if you read them, then you want to put an average star rating.
Please
let us know. Do we want to catch up on comments before spoilers?
Yeah, I lost quite a few. So Freddie says Secret Identity has that Clark. Oh, I already read that. I read it. Crazed says they think they're good picks. I just hope you wonder about the first issue Rebirth. We talked
Crazed. We're going to talk about it more in spoilers.
Okay. Hayden's on the same boat as me, although Hayden softened to him more lately. He's still the least interesting character in the Super Fam to me, like how Bruce is in the Bat Fam.
I want to talk about this just really quickly because I forgot to say this. When you said I liked these other characters, Hayden, you hit the nail on the head. This is how I feel about Batman. I don't know. I think Kristan really doesn't like Clark a lot differently than I am not. I'm kind of ambivalent about Bruce. But I will say, like, I love this. I love Gotham. I love his rogues gallery. I love his family. Like, I have so many Batman books and I love reading Batman books. And to me, Batman is not the most interesting, but I would say, like, people who I talk about comics a lot, like my most unfiltered opinions in my life, would never call me like a Batman hater. Like, it's not something that's known about me just because, like, I'm just like, eh. But I think you hit the nail on the head. And I've heard this about Superman as well. It's obviously really common. I think people really love like these other iconic parts, but this is just not their favorite piece. To me, I would say, like, I understand that because I experience it with Bruce, but I guess my feeling about Bruce is it's so integrated that it doesn't translate into me not liking him. It more translates into like, I'll say I love like the Bat family, or I love, so I don't know. It's an interesting phenomenon, and I don't know what it says, because you are the company you keep. And you bring out different things in yourself when you're around different people, and vice versa. So it's an interesting phenomenon, but I totally agree, Hayden.
I celebrated when the New 52 Superman died.
Me too.
Just got to get post-crisis Superman back.
Yeah.
I mean, why would anyone trust a man who wears his red underwear over his long johns to be capable of saving and protecting the Earth? Come on. I have things to say about.
I know. I'm sure you do.
I went and got my Superman versus the Klan with the intention of saying Superman doesn't appear to pay Jax, but the family, Roberta,
Mark
and
with
Tommy,
the names. Let's
don't appear to pay attention. Jessica's correct. It's a Superman story again.
Mark is a Superman hater. Mark was coming at Clark like last week. First off, I'm so glad you went and read that. It's a great book.
Listen, yeah, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I love Superman Ashes of the Klan.
Yeah.
But I still just don't feel like it was a Superman story.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to talk about
everything else, which I found very interesting.
Yeah, sure.
Birthright is a phenomenal first Superman book.
It is. That was on my short list. Believe me, thinking through. Yeah, absolutely.
John Byrne has never seen a baby. See what I did there with the Vlog Brothers costume. It's funny. Secret Origins is very John Byrne-ish. Like, things happen, they try to give him some growing pains, but I'm not rooting for him the way I was in Birthright and American Alien.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, I gotta really read something crazy for Kristan to ever read a Superman book again, but picking an off the wall one like American Alien might be a really interesting experiment. Like, I think what I think Kristan would say, BTW, is that's not real Superman then, and it would be said in that.
Wow, do I sound like that?
Just like Lois sounds like, oh my gosh.
Who are you?
Anyways.
Also, having seen Smallville for reading this, I think Smallville had the advantage of having a Lex you grow with. Like, he feels more raw as a young man.
Yes.
Here it's a little mechanical. I totally agree with that as someone who enjoyed the first part of Smallville, at least. Rebirth Superman felt like a godsend after years of the New 52 Superman.
Yeah.
Lois was more in Action Comics. Jurgens wrote a fantastic Lois and Clark mini, but his run lacked that family dynamic. Out of curiosity, have you watched Batman the Animated Series? I think that's the best characterization of Batman. I have not.
That is Larry, what were you doing? It was so inconsistent in your house, Larry.
He never well, I mean, it was DC, so was it though? I didn't grow up in a DC household. He likes Batman, but I never saw that.
I have watched of course, I love Batman the Animated Series. It's one of the first like comics related things I think I ever watched, or read or consumed in any sense. I'll have to think about that. I'll have to sit with whether I think like that characterization of him spoke to me in some different way. I'll have to think about that, Batman. Food for thought.
The only Batman books that work for me are books that try to explore his human aspects. I hate because he's Batman, he's punching Darkseid, beating up JL, and breaking the multiverse stories.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I enjoyed the Stanley Imagined Superman. Does that count?
Sure.
Please try to read Superman Space Age. Mark Russell is such a witty writer.
William. So Jess, I'll talk about that in my beach reads. Yeah, I did just read it. Yeah, I want to talk about it.
Okay. With all the Superman talk, where's Omnidog? He calls himself a Superman fan. And he knew about it because I told him about it yesterday.
Maybe he's hiding under a desk.
The animated series also has a fantastic score by Elfman. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Agreed. I know everybody loves that series. I've never seen that. So is it like somewhere I can access easy? Do we know?
It was on Max. I don't know if it still is. I own the Blu-rays because you gotta own physical media or your show might disappear. They would never get rid of Batman. But I think it's Max.
Okay. When I have that
That's
again,
true.
I'll watch it. The Superman animated series is one of the better Superman characterizations, and Lois is great.
I love that Lois. She is so good. Yeah. Max. Yeah.
Cool.
So let's go into the book report. Should we start with Superman so you end on a happier note? Should we flip it for this?
Sure, yeah. Sure. That's fine. Although I think I have some great notes.
I think we should end on a good note. So let's start with Secret Origin.
Okay.
I kind of paced mine a bit by the issue. How did you do yours?
As I felt the need.
Great. Okay.
I mean, they're the silliest notes ever. It has nothing to do with really anything, just my feelings.
This is going to be great. Okay, so it opens up with Boy of Steel, aka man's head on a child's body. I can show. Let me show a really good one of that.
Hold on, I'll make you big too.
I never can do this right.
Oh, just what is?
It's also the eyes.
That guy's 40 and he's possessed. Like, what's going on?
I don't know if he's possessed. Wait, this one of Lex that comes up later is like the stuff. It's up there with Professor X.
You're right. You're so right.
But in Boy of Steel, basically this is like classic origin, starting a lot with Clark's childhood, some highlights, and then I'll have Kristan read her notes. But my highlights will be the content of the story real quick. He's struggling with his powers, so he accidentally breaks his friend Pete's arm when they're playing football. He has his first kiss with Lana Lang, which gets him pretty excited. So his heat vision goes out of control, and that's real scary. And he's first learning he's from Krypton. He learns a bit more of the specifics of where he's from. He tries on his costume. I'm sure Kristen's going to have some thoughts for the first time. And Lex, who, as we said, is also in Smallville at this time, discovers kryptonite. So that's kind of what content-wise is happening in the issue. Kristan, your thoughts first.
Would you like my exact notes?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Right. So you heard the terrifying adult man head on a little boy body. Okay.
And we saw it. And no one is going to sleep well tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me just show one more. I'm so sorry. This one was also horrifying. The up here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. So I just wanted to say it wasn't just the Christopher Reeve's excuse. It was a problem throughout the childhood issues.
There's something about the eyes in all of these characters, right?
Correct.
It's a lot.
Correct. When they're young, yeah. I don't think it happens as much when they're older, but yeah.
My next note was the Superman costume reveal. I just hate it so much. I just don't understand it, everybody. I don't like it. That's all.
Did you smile or think it was cute though when they were talking about the costume later? Because his mom was like, "Why are the underwear?" He was like,
"Yes."
Did you smile when she was like, "Do you mean you're not wearing underwear underneath?" It was such a little boy thing. He was like, "Yeah, no, I'm wearing underwear underneath." Yeah, okay, I just wanted to check because I thought that was cute.
Absolutely, I agree. And I will say, I didn't put this in my notes, but there's something about him as a kid that I like more than him as an adult, right?
That's really good to know. Yeah,
dynamic. Yeah. Okay. Why are these parents so damn casual about this alien boy? All right. I say that because it felt so casual when, they find this spaceship thing, right? And his mom's just like, "Yeah, this is what's going on. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, go to your alien planet. Yeah." And I'm just like, it just felt silly reading it.
But you're talking about because they don't show in this version him really they don't go into his landing on Earth as much. So they've had years to adjust to.
Well, it didn't feel that way.
Okay.
You know what I mean? She was just like, yeah, my kid's an alien. And I'm like, what's...
Yeah. Because when we pop in, he's landed for I don't know. What do you think? He's 9 or 10 at the beginning. They've had 10 years of this reality, but the reader just popped in. So that's fair. I could see where it'd be a bit confusing.
Okay. And then I quoted a lot of the other character names. Cosmic Boy, Saturn Girl.
Oh, you're an issue too.
Lad,
okay.
Chameleon Boy. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't.
Come on. Come on. Those names. What are we doing?
They're from 100 years ago. So
yeah. I don't like them. So that's all.
Yeah, so you're in issue 2. Let me read what happens in issue 2 first. Issue 2, Superboy and Legion of Superheroes. Clark saves Lex's dad. Lex's dad, as we mentioned, is an alcoholic. And so it's kind of interesting because it parallels the Smallville where Clark saves Lex when he's going over a bridge. But this happens and it's Clark saves Lex's dad. let's see. The Legion comes to meet Clark for really. This is my least favorite issue of them. It makes no sense. They're just like, we're big fans, so we came back. And I was like, what is this plot? I do like some of the end results of it, but they come, you're right. And then he asks to go to the future. And then also a pod lands in Smallville. That is not his pod. So that's what happens in issue. Proceed, and then I'll cut you off before you go to issue 3.
Well, I didn't parse out my thoughts on issues. I should have. Real quick, I want to say hi to Jesse Say What, who's always been pro Superman. Thanks for being here. See,
you got to be in here coming. I got to fight for my life up in here.
Batman doesn't have strong feelings on Superman. Loved him in that show. That's Killing Joker on Superman's boy body.
You know what, Mark, though? That's correct. You are right.
I don't think Jonathan had issues with Clark's powers. He had issues with that look. Even as a parent, you can't trust someone who looks like that as a kid. Slayman on Legion. Glad Jess is in here. Look.
He does. Yeah, I love the Legion of Superheroes.
And he has nostalgia for that Legion, right? I think that's a big part of me as well. I have zero nostalgia for any of that. And you don't look at those names and you're like, that's dumb.
No, because I read comics. And
okay, but Cosmic Boy, Saturn Girl, Lightning Lad, Chameleon Boy.
No,
see, and when I read a Marvel character with a dumb name, I'm like, that's dumb. Like I
don't. I mean, even when we won't go into how we all started reading comics. That's a whole other show. But yeah, I don't actually have youth nostalgia reading comics. Full stop. I didn't really read comics actively until like 10, 11 years ago. So like I don't have nostalgia in that sense. And that might be why we'll talk more, but like that might be partly my connection to Superman, because the nostalgia I have is more associated with like, we talked about X-Men, the animated series. I will always have nostalgia for X-Men for that. But it's mostly pop culture that would be considered, I guess, true nostalgia. And of course, who's more ubiquitous when we were growing up than Superman? It's really changed a lot. We can talk about that later, but that might be part of it. But no, I don't know. I saw a thing on Instagram the other day and I was like, this is me. And it's like, I'm not afraid of being corny. I live my life on the cob. And that is how I feel, Kristan.
Okay.
So yeah, it doesn't bother me. But I don't have nostalgia for them for sure. Yeah,
we love that.
It is what it is.
I'm fine with it. My dad says this is going to sound totally crazy and I'm prepared to get roasted, but it always seemed to me that DC characters, Batman aside, seem way silly and fakey compared to most Marvel stuff.
Yeah, I've heard a version of this argument a lot before. So I don't think you'll get roasted. I don't think it's a new take.
No, and hi, Reid. I do understand that. I feel like I feel that as well. And maybe it's like, because even like with all of this, there's the space stuff, there's the alien stuff. I mean, I've read some Guardians, but like that's not my thing. My thing is more, and I've talked about it before. I talk about it with Maddie. I want to see the X-Men go to the grocery store and buy some milk.
I feel the same way. No, I feel the same way. Yeah.
Like, so some of that is not my thing, but hello, Cycle Cleveland. Nice to see you. Is Squirrel Girl dumb? No, I don't think Squirrel Girl herself is dumb. The name is dumb, of course. Squirrel Girl. It's silly.
It's cute. It rhymes. I don't even really care.
I guess, but like, it's nothing like Lightning Lad, though. Let's be real, right?
No, I think they're on par with each other.
Well, all right, that's fine.
But I support you.
But I love Squirrel Girl. Yeah, it's silly.
Yeah, that's important to you.
It's all silly times.
Yeah,
and that's all I'm saying is here's some silly times.
Yeah. Yeah.
We will not go 5-hour cycle. Just probably love Legion of Superheroes because he was alive when they first appear. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think
that's what she's saying.
Have like nostalgia for that, which I totally get. I mean, I love the first X-Men movie that a lot of people hate so much. I was 10 when that came out. Right?
Yeah, agreed.
Like,
no, I feel the same way.
I loved it, you know?
Yeah. We love X-Men Evolution.
Yes, X-Men Evolution. The first Star Wars Episode 1. I love the Phantom Menace.
We love trade politics. We love it.
Yeah, we do. That's funny. No, I mean the name thing, it's a silly thing I just wrote down. I don't really care that much, but enjoying Stan Lee imagines anything nearly disqualifies a person's opinion entirely. Dad, he's calling you out. The X-Men buying some turkey Twizzlers. Yes. How great.
They were banned in the UK though. Maybe they're like super villains.
All right.
So yeah, I agree that that was corny. I did want to ask you though, because we're gonna about to skip over this in time with your thoughts. We passed it. I did really like one of my favorite parallels is like I really like young Clark's interactions, especially with his dad. And I like when media really plays that up and like what impact that had on him, especially because now like Clark is a dad. And so you can actually see some parallels, even though, of course, these two have nothing to do with each other. I love that. I was curious how you felt about like their connection. Was any of that of interest to you, or was that a part of why you liked the childhood stories like Ma and Pa Kent? Because they just have these nice chats, like up in the barn, and he's like,
Yeah.
the universe is a pretty big place, so big even with those eyes of yours you can't see to the end. Like these moments where like it's really crazy that he's raising this overpowered, like kind of dangerous child, but he's so like grounded and humble, which I do think impacts Clark's ability to be tame with his powers later on. Did any of that like resonate with you? Or
Yeah, again, I have to say, like, the stuff with his parents, and again, when he was growing up, like, I certainly enjoyed those parts of it more than
mm-hmm,
current day, I would say, right?
mm-hmm, sure.
And I feel like my enjoying Smallville when that came out as well, it was the same feel, right?
John Schneider was such a good dad.
He was so
Yeah.
great. Yeah, he was great. I mean, and I enjoyed everyone's acting in that as well. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a good point with Lex as well. I mean, Michael Rosenbaum made him feel like such a real character and relatable. I didn't get the Lex feeling in this, right? Or the
No,
Secret Origin. It's just like with the crazy eyes. But
really crazy. Yeah.
yeah, but like yeah, those like down home kind of aspects. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy those
Okay.
things more in a story anyway, I think.
Yeah.
And that's why I think about like Ultimate Spider-Man and why I like it so much. It's like
Mm-hmm.
he's just in a high school, he's just being a kid, but also he's doing
Yeah.
these things, I enjoy that like more grounded aspect of
Yeah,
a
I got you.
character. So yeah, I mean, again, I may have overall given this 2 stars, but
No, I mean
there were
that's fair.
certainly moments that like I liked.
Well, it's good for me to know too, because if you were to ever read any other Superman stories, like it's good to know what you really didn't like specifically and really did like specifically. Because as you and I think can both agree, like there are very few characters that have long histories like this. Spider-Man would be in the same bucket where there's probably runs of Spider-Man. You're like, I hate this characterization.
Oh,
I hate
sure.
this story,
Yeah.
even if you love the character. So it's
Mhm.
really good to like hear like what you did, what really did work and what really didn't work is super helpful for me to hear.
Well, yeah,
Absolutely.
and I think about Superman Smashes the Klan and like the overall story. I mean, it was just so good and
Hmm.
interesting, and there were these other characters that like helped make it that, and it also did help. It was one concise thing too. I
Yeah, sure,
prefer that as
absolutely.
well.
Yeah.
But
The art was great.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So
All right, so you
yeah,
hated we were so where we left off with you was Lightning Lad.
it's
What
just.
a dweeb.
I know I'm being silly. I mean, they're all silly names. Squirrel Golf Course, like it's all silly.
Yeah. Also,
But
like maybe Lex murdered his dad. Sorry, that's where that
oh,
issue ended.
yikes! big,
Maybe.
big yikes. I will say my next comment is
Yeah.
just a comment about being 70 pages in and my feelings. So I
Hmm.
don't know where that leaves us in issues.
Well, mine aren't numbered, so I have no clue. The
Okay.
next is, have you gotten a Metropolis yet or not?
I don't even know.
Okay, so
I just
let me
made like
just
blanket notes. Do you know what I mean?
so
I
here's where
it wasn't
we
good.
yeah.
I should
Yeah,
have.
I
I'm
got you. No, 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 I'm good. I got you, and then you'll have me when we come to flow for
sorry.
the other
Okay.
one. So the next issue is Mild Mannered Reporter. So issues 3 through 6 are roughly in the same time span. So 1 and 2 are like childhood. In Mild Mannered Reporter, Clark goes to Metropolis. We have like a Lexo suit moment, and it's more a lot about in the first issue, like in the Daily Planet, like how people respond to him and how he first responds to like the big city. So that's kind of what happens in this one. But go ahead and I'll try to cut you off before you hit the next
Sure.
one.
Again, just a quick
Yeah.
little note. 70 pages in, and I'm just bored.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how I felt. Um, then I quoted Lightning Lab.
Wow. Your mortal enemy?
Well,
Wow.
you'll see why. He says, and I quote, "You know what happens when a lightning storm doesn't get a raise? It goes on strike. Ha ha."
Better or worse than the Toad joke in
That's
the
it.
first X-Men movie?
Reminded me exactly of that. I was like, this is
The
the
chat.
same.
Tell us, better or worse?
This is the same.
Wait,
I don't
is
like
it
that
a
he
joke
laughed at his
about
own
that
joke.
though? I wonder how far apart these two things came out. We're gonna have to deep dive later.
I'm kind of curious because I read it and I was like, that's the same joke. It's terrible. It's the same.
Hayden said same energy. Yeah. Hayden, let us know about the dates of these things if you can.
It is the same energy.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, I'll get caught up on some things real quick. I mean, I love the first Superman film.
Classic.
I've never seen it. The full title for that series was originally supposed to be Stan Lee imagines how bad all his comics would be if he didn't have superstar artists doing everything.
Is this Larry and Cycle having a feud? Is that what's happening?
So. I think so, yeah.
That's fine.
I'm curious, Dad, if you agree with Cycle on a lot of stuff. Did you agree with him on Keeping too? Need an update. Now I need a story of the X-Men started an underground turkey Twizzlers trade, sneaking them into the UK via... hold on. I got to make a note. I'm writing a fanfic.
But what if you did?
What if I did, though? I mean, outside of Michael Rosenbaum, Lex generally feels like cliche mustache twirler, cringy villain. Michael's
okay.
Great.
My hottest take, and I don't care if the internet knows this, I think Jesse Eisenberg's Superman, or Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor in Man of Steel, I liked it.
Hot take.
I thought it was an interesting take on the character. Just saying. But I agree. My favorite Lex by far and away is Michael Rosenbaum. 100%. And he's from Indiana, so it pains me to say that.
He's right near my hometown, in fact. Yeah. Hate is Spidey rum never cough except current amazing run cough. Okay. That's the same energy as Ted struck by. Yeah, sorry, I clicked that. Yep. What are labor relations like in the 23rd century or wherever they're from? We got to know.
Well, it's a long time ago. So a long time ago from the 90s. So who knows what that maths to. We're not mathematicians and it's a Sunday.
Yeah.
Proceed with your disgust.
Yeah. So after that quote, I wrote, yikes. Then Triplet Girl, Phantom Girl.
Oh, you're still in that one. Okay. Yeah.
I just,
you really love those names.
And then I have an after finishing note. So we can wait.
We didn't write any notes on present
I didn't write
day.
any more. No.
Wow.
No.
All right. Well, so Clark goes to Metropolis. I did love, I love this version of Metropolis because I don't know. You know how everyone's like, what's the real world equivalent of Gotham? And usually people land on New York City. Metropolis kind of gets like a different vibe. I've read that the reason this Metropolis, which was tagged by the gang Gotham Posse, which is like so random.
I noticed that. Yeah.
So random. They're like, this Gotham sucks, so we're gonna go try. Anyways, I've read the reason this version of Metropolis is a bit more dingy is it's like Metropolis before Superman, which I personally think is not my favorite headcanon. It's a little lame. So I'm like, what's I don't even know what I would say is like the like real world equivalent of Metropolis. But he's getting into the big city and people are just startled by him. He has like a series of interactions where like he's trying to help this one lady and she thinks he's like trying to take her purse because she obviously doesn't like trust anyone because she's probably been robbed a whole bunch and basically like calls him clumsy, says people don't look up in the city. They have nothing to hope for. Then he has like a very awkward encounter with this disgruntled employee in the elevator who basically swindles him out of his lunch. And Lois is like, you're so like, you're such a simpleton, for like thinking that that guy really needed your help. Like he's just trying to take advantage of you. And he meets everyone in the newsroom. And I thought this introduction of everyone was just perfect. Like I thought it was quick and succinct and you got their personalities like all at once, like Lois and Jimmy. What did you think about like the introduction of everyone and the way Clark interacted? Were you just annoyed that he was bumbling around or what's the vibe when he does stuff like that? You're like, good guys are lame or what do you think?
No, it wasn't like that. I mean, I gotta say, hot take maybe. I feel like when it's Clark and not Superman, I like him more.
Okay. We're getting closer to like me getting it. Okay. I appreciate that. Yeah. Tell me more.
Yeah. So So yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed the Daily Planet stuff. That
Mm-hmm.
was fun. And I like that aspect of like Spider-Man too, you know. So there's a
It's true,
direct
yeah.
correlation there with like your boss being a maniac and like, you know, dealing with everything. And again, I enjoyed Lois in it. I enjoyed Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. So he continues to fumble through. There is a plot point that comes back later, which is when he's meeting Lois and getting to, and I love this was like one of my favorite see if I can do it this way. Yeah. This was one of my favorite pages where like she's got her wig in her bra because she's gonna like try to go undercover. But he also sees these flowers that are to Lois from John, and that'll come back later. So he's kind of making note of everything in this moment. I did like that the flowers came back in a plot point, even though these are supposed to be kind of disconnected. But I love the faces. He sees her cubicle as a mess. She's like,
Yeah, I
and
enjoyed that.
he's like, okay, this is kind of scary, but I'm into it. Like he's like, I do like it. So I thought that introduction just like nailed it 100%.
And real quick, Hayden says, according to Google, the Toad line came a while before the Lightning Lad line.
So it's possible it is an homage.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
I'd say.
Yeah. Mark says in his personal conversation with Jesse, his buddy. Wow, I put those together. He had super good answers about Lex. So are
you talked to Jesse Eisenberg about being.
Are you besties?
Mark, are you also having a mystery podcast? Drop the links.
Is there a mystery podcast with Jesse Eisenberg in the works? Because
I would listen to that.
Yeah.
We would listen to that. 100%. Wow. There were a lot of earnest moments. I'll skip through to 4, but like she's like, who the heck are you to Superman? Because they go on a interview together, some shenanigans happen, and so he has to like turn into superhero mode. And he says, I'm just someone who wants to help. And when I read that and I saw this earnest face, I thought, Kristan hates this man.
Hold on, let's see.
Here we go. He's like, I'm just someone who wants to help. And Kristen's like rolling her. I'm like, yeah, we need good guys. And Kristen's rolling her eyes somewhere across the state.
I'm just like, okay. Like,
interesting.
I'm bored. I'm like, yeah, okay. You should do the right thing. You're like so overpowered. You should do the right thing.
But not all people who are overpowered. In fact, I would argue the more power you get, the more likely you are to be corruptible. And I think you and I probably agree on that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair.
But when he does that, this issue kind of ends with he's sort of flying away. This is the first time he's used his abilities in Metropolis. And so he's hearing people talking in their apartments as he's flying around. Things like, did you see what he was wearing? That was Kristan in her apartment. Some people say he's a miracle, but some people are like, who is he? Why is he here? Should we fear him? Like, and so he's kind of freaking out and he goes back to his parents. And they're like, hey, now you're kind of out of the closet in a sense. So you're out now. Everybody knows, and everything's going to change. And he says, I've made a mistake. So he's kind of nervous at people's responses to him. So then we get into issue 4, Parasite. This is where Lex turns a former employee into Parasite. And Hayden's in the chat. Hayden, let's talk about the Doctor Who Absorbaloff episode, Love and Monsters. Is that not what this is a terrible... Spoiler alert, it's the disgruntled employee he ran into earlier that he gave lunch to, whose whole character trait is he likes to eat. But I hate this design for Parasite. It's kind of grotesque and it reminds me of a really awful fat joke. So didn't love that.
Honestly, there were a lot of awful fat jokes throughout that. Yeah.
I think they were a lot about him, though. That was the thing. It was like they just went all in on that character. I didn't like that. I was not a fan. Then Lex gets into Lois's head at the interview because she's like, I'm going to get this interview with Lex Luthor. I have a million things to ask him because I'm on to him and he never grants an interview with anyone. He only granted her the interview because he basically wants to charge Superman and she's the only one who seems to have interacted with Superman at this point. But he kind of psychs her out because he mentions her dad and this is her personal kryptonite because they have a really awful relationship, which gets explored slightly in this origin. And there's a really random line about pasta. You talked about Lightning Lad having the worst line. Let's talk about this line. Because I was like, this is a weird flex. So it's when later on, Parasite and Superman are fighting. I find it was so bad. It's so bad. And so, oh, I could see you rolling your eyes at this part too. He's attacking Clark. Parasite is attacking Clark, and he said, Clark says, didn't your mother teach you not to bite? That's not the bad part, guys. Later, Parasite says, you taste better than the others, and you last a hell of a lot longer, like a big bowl of pasta. What?
I remember being like, what am I reading? What is
that?
that?
I agree. That was crazy. So that happens. And Lex uses this as an opportunity to plant distrust. Like, look how overpowered he is. He puts Clark on the spot and says, you know, do you expect us to bow down to you, etc.? And he's like, no, I'm just here to help people. And Kristan once again rolled her eyes. But it does plant more doubt. And people are saying things like, do you think Lex Luthor's right? He's always right. We should be afraid of him. And so it really psychs Clark out. And then he has this beautiful scene, I think. And I'm curious to hear what you thought, because you were glazing your eyes at 70 pages in. How did you feel about the interaction on the roof? He goes to the roof of the Daily Planet and he sees Jimmy is there. He's like contemplating life because now everyone's afraid of him. And he sees Jimmy is there and he thinks Jimmy is going to jump because he's in a bad mental space. And they have a conversation. What do you think about this interaction?
I enjoyed him and Jimmy. Really, Jimmy. I enjoyed Jimmy. Is really what it is. So
what
yeah,
didn't you like about what Clark said and did in this scene?
I was just kind of like, I don't know. I just didn't care, but I was like happy for Jimmy, and he got his photos. That's nice.
Yeah. He ends with like, Jimmy's like, I'm going to leave because I don't have anything here. And Clark says, well, I've only got one friend here and it's you. And I thought that was really sweet.
That's nice. Jessica,
and
that's nice. Okay.
Yeah, nice. It is nice. He also, I bet Kristan really rolled her eyes. You know, Clark originally does this weenie pose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Jimmy's the one who suggests putting his hands on his hips. And he said, I don't know, it feels weird. And Jimmy's like, it looks great. So
does it though?
Yeah. It does. He looks good. So that's that issue. And then the last two issues. So the second to last issue is called Strange Visitor. Basically, Lex is mad about Clark's getting good press. And he decides to partner with General Lane, Lois's dad, who she has an estranged relationship with. And then the John part comes. I loved this interaction. John comes back, Flowers John, who gave flowers to Lois, comes back and is basically like, oh, I see you got my flowers. Because this guy's basically has a good relationship with her dad. And so essentially he's like, I'm going to date her. And she's not into it. And he gets very handsy and mean and awful. And Clark witnesses it and does what I think is the most Clark Kent Superman moment of all, which is pretend to be like assuming goodwill of John. And he's like, hey, I hope I'm not interrupting. But Lois and I were supposed to discuss lunch. And they interact. And then Clark very subtly, and I loved the faces in this part, Clark very subtly shakes his hand and then squeezes too hard and of course is overpowered. So John's like, oh my God. And psychs him out. And he says, I hope you have a pleasant stay in Metropolis. And I loved that cubicle scene so much. So did like that part. What about you, Kristan?
Yeah, it was great.
She hated it. So then Lois and Clark bond over lunch because his parents obviously dead, which he doesn't say because his Earth parents are still alive, but her mother has passed. And she's like, I always wondered if my mom would be proud of me. And he's like, yeah, I understand that feeling because he can't know what his Kryptonian parents think about what he's doing. But eventually, essentially, General Lane has a plot that involves Metallo that we won't go into too far, but John does become Metallo. What winds up happening, though, is that he gets detained, which they do mirror in the Man of Steel movie, which I know people hate. But they do mirror this very scene where he's detained. And they have a really interesting scene where Clark is sort of talking about, he may not be exactly like the general, but he grew up in this country and he wants to use his abilities to like protect and do good. And the general's like, but you're not an American, are you? And he says like, I consider myself an American. He's like, but you're not, you're somebody who's totally different. You didn't grow up here. And I really like this scene because as we talked about earlier, like, I think that the best kinds of like superheroes in general are ones where, you can take allegories and bits and pieces and think about the world through that prism a lot. And there are a lot of reasons why I like Superman, but in my adult life, for those of you who don't know, I work in refugee resettlement. And so really for the last 10 years or so of doing that, like I look at Superman and I think about a story about a refugee more than anything. Refugees, by the very definition, can't go back to their home country for fear of death because of war, because of persecution based on like their race, their religion, their political beliefs, etc. Like they have no choice to go back. And so they come here, sometimes not even like as a choice. Only 1% of refugees ever get resettled, but they wind up in this new place. And especially younger ones like try to make this their home, but they're constantly seen as outsiders and even, you know, in certain political climates as dangerous. And I see when I see this interrogation scene, so many parallels to that immigration story, which I know comes from my own like experience, and not everybody's going to see that. But I do think that's what's cool about these heroes. I like that a young immigrant kid, for example, could see Clark's story and like how he never fit in as a kid and his parents didn't understand a part of him. They could see that as like themselves. And so I do really like that. And I know like Peter will have some of that when we talk about it as well. But I did like that interrogation scene because it brought out direct parallels to what I think a lot of immigrants face, particularly these days. Yeah. And then we end with Man of Steel, which is basically Clark escapes. Lois and Jimmy have some shenanigans to pull over on the army. Metallo and Superman get into a battle, and Metallo says that why you should fear him is that he can change everything. Everything that you've known will be different. But obviously the public at this point isn't going for it. And then my favorite thing happens, which is when everyone's like in awe of him. Clark said, I'm not a savior. Lex is not a savior. Like you all are the people in this community that can do good and change the community. And that's what I like the most about Superman. So I like that it ended like on that note. It's not about him. It's about what he can inspire and bring out like in other people. So this is why I think it's solid.
Makes
and
sense.
Kristan thinks it's 2 stars.
You know, everything you're saying makes sense. That's all I can say.
That's all she could say. So yeah, this was a little over 4 stars for me. Absolutely.
I love that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have as detailed of notes on Rebirth. Don't worry.
That's okay. Yeah.
But let's talk about the controversy right out the gate, which I did apologize for. So when I selected this, I do want to say I did send her a video because, you know, one thing that's a bit confusing is this is a bit continuity wise at the beginning where convergence has happened. This isn't New 52 Superman. It's the old Superman coming back. And so I sent a video to which Kristan replied, my head really hurts. So then I gave her a 1-minute summary. You just got to go comics, but some people care about
that's
this
what
stuff,
I did. So. I was just like, okay, comics.
So that's what I thought Kristan would struggle with. And I didn't reread these issues until this past weekend. And immediately I forgot something major that happens in one of the very first issues. Yeah. And I'll let Kristan tell the story from here.
Okay. If you want my exact notes. So I start reading Superman Rebirth and I put in my notes, Goldie the cat is my favorite character. Goldie is a lovely little orange tabby, just like my orange tabby girl. Also really rare to see the girls.
It's my bestie.
Yeah, Jessica's bestie, Willow. Maybe not after this, but no, she won't know. And then right after that note, and this is exactly what I wrote down. Oh my God, Jonathan just killed Goldie. No.
Okay, so here's what happened. I did read this before Kristan. I sent her a voice memo 24 hours before she started the book.
No, you sent it that morning, and I started it a few hours
I said it. No.
My thing said it. You sent it at 9 a.m. that day.
I don't remember that.
I'm gonna look.
Okay, keep me posted. But the second I read it, I sent
June 24th at 8 a.m.
Okay, my bad. It felt like the day before. I had a hard work week.
Hey, it's okay.
The second I read it, I did send it. I even thought about texting you, but then I didn't, and I regret not being like, listen to your voice memos. Okay, so I just to set it up really quickly. This John doesn't like maliciously kill Goldie. So John is the son of Clark and Lois, for anyone who doesn't know. And the cat actually gets taken away by a bird, an evil bird. Because guess what? Birds are evil.
Like a big
Hot
hawk or
take.
something. Yeah.
Hot take.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to rescue Goldie and he uses his heat vision, but he doesn't have a ton of control. They're out living on a farm at this point. And in doing so, he kills both the bird and Goldie. And there is like a quick sad shot. Not as graphic as that, though.
Skullcat. It just was right beside me. And I'm like, it was actually more graphic than that. Thank you. They show it.
Okay. Well, he was trying to save Goldie. I just want to say, like, and it hit. I'll say that. That made me feel real bad. That made me feel real bad. Not about, I mean, I did feel bad about having Kristan read that, but I also felt bad about John doing that. That's crazy if that were to happen. Like, crazy.
So my note under that note is exactly this. Now they're leaving out milk for her. Cats are lactose intolerant and shouldn't have milk. I am sad.
Okay. That I don't apologize for.
They just kept bringing her up, and that was the point I was trying to make. But also, don't feed your cat.
Because John hides it. He doesn't tell his family. So yeah, they're all like, "Where's Goldie?" And Jonathan feels real guilty, which I feel bad for him in that moment. He also, when he does that, their neighbor friend Kathy, another child, witnesses that, which is really important.
Who's like a 40-year-old in a child's body, not
her personality, you mean?
But like her words, yeah.
Yeah, she does act a bit older. To be fair, she's raised by her grandpa, so I feel like.
Well, and they do mention it. They're like, "Oh, you're very well spoken."
Yeah,
for a 10-year-old.
I like that character. She's in a bit more later down, but then they move away, and so you really don't see her again, which is sad. All right, what's your next?
You know what? I only have one more note for the whole thing.
Oh my god. Okay. We're about to do a real role reversal in a minute. You'll be giving the speeches, and I'll be like, I had one note.
I mean, honestly, I feel like we'll get through Spider-Man like that. Like,
all right, go ahead. Yeah, all right.
My last note was a quote that Superman said. Make like a sardine while I finish shutting your can.
Loved it. And then they said, this was in the next trade. And then they said, what's a sardine?
I hated it so much.
Anyways, all right. Well, Kristan's dipping out. So
that's all I had.
Yeah.
I was annoyed by the monsters. I think I told you that. Like, I did not care about that storyline.
And when you mean all the villains, or you mean Frankenstein at the end, who is not a monster? He's a hero, but that's okay.
They called it like the monsters or something. Like they called.
Well, they were after monsters. Frankenstein and his wife were. Well, ex-wife. That was a really sad.
That was messed up. Here's the thing. That should have ended differently, and I was upset by it.
I know.
I was like, really, after all this, and she's just like, or he's like, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. Frankenstein is a tragedy.
Yeah, well.
Go ahead, though. You were annoyed by all
I didn't care about them.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't care about. Well, I'm still kind of confused about some of it too, right? Especially the 2 Superman thing, and then like this is Clark, but it's not Clark, but is it? And then at some point, Lois is like, "My friends," and I'm like, "But that's your family." So there were a lot of moments where I was like, I don't understand what this means. And then people were like, "Well, we want the old Superman back," and I'm like, "But you're calling him the same thing. He's also Clark." So I'm still confused by that.
Yeah.
So a lot of my reading was like, "Well, I don't understand."
Okay. Well, I won't go into Convergence because we don't have an hour. I was hoping you would just kind of be like, okay.
Well,
but yeah,
I'm just letting you know that's something I experienced during it. I was like, I don't understand, but okay. No, I was like, okay, and I kept reading.
Yeah, well, as you can see from the chat, people who hated New 52 Spider-Man or Superman who did not wear underwear on the outside of his outfit. Maybe that's your guy. Actually, maybe New 52 Superman. Maybe you have the hottest take of all. People didn't like him. And our original Superman died a while ago. And so what we discover is he didn't really die. He was depowered for a while because comics. that's how he was able to have John, because normally he can't conceive children with a human. And then he's able to be brought back through through convergence, but someone else would know. Hayden, that's the hottest of takes. But I love that for you.
Hayden.
Did you like when he dated Wonder Woman and they had that series together? Let me know.
What is pure poetry? I don't know.
I'm not sure. Anyways, that's basically it. It's just like, that's the New 52 Superman died. This is the original Superman.
Sure.
I mean, comics.
I don't need an explanation.
Timelines, multiverse, etc. So
there were certain parts where I was like, what? I did enjoy Jonathan. I liked the stories that were more Jonathan focused.
Mm-hmm.
That was nice. I don't know. I feel like this may not be that off. Chris is saying, I feel like maybe if the same story was written, but the character wasn't Superman, Kristan might have enjoyed it. I don't know. I don't know. The sardine thing, I'm just like,
Also, I don't know Hayden's comment that says the Azorbalof's third cousin, Absorba Jeff, is really funny. I love that. Oh, I like Freddie's comment. Yeah, thank you for listening to that essay earlier.
No, I love that. I love that. Like, it helps understand, what you're seeing and what I'm maybe not seeing too.
Yeah, and what Freddie says though about Superman smashes the Klan, this is what I was saving for spoilers, is why I think it's so important that it is Superman is exactly because of those parallels around discrimination and around hope for a better future. That's why I think Superman smashes the Klan doesn't work with a lot of other heroes. So I 100% agree with that comment. I think it's a really important part of that, especially at the time that the actual story was released, which the radio play.
Right.
Because at that point, Superman is seen as so American in a sense. And the irony being those same people who persecuted him from being somewhere else, they only want him when he's like doing what they want and on their team and saying the things they want to say. Right. But that's not free speech. That's fascism. The alternative is fascism. So anyways, we're not going to talk about fascism, but not on a Sunday. Okay. Apart from the Wonder Woman romance, I actually didn't really mind that part of it, even though people really hated that. The first trade, the main villain is the Eradicator. And I will say, as I was reading it, I was like, Kristen's going to hate how many issues this Eradicator storyline is going on. Lot. But it plays into John's storyline because the Eradicator is a creature really created, yes, to be the police on Krypton, but also to exterminate non-Kryptonian life. And so when he detects John, he's like, oh, this thing is got some Krypton in it, but he needs to be rid of this other stuff, which is a huge part of the plot because a huge part of the first trade is Clark trying to figure out how to be a dad. And he has moments where he messes up and apologizes, which I did really appreciate. Like when he gets really angry at the grandpa neighbor and he's like, this is our business. Moments like that. And then later, because Lois says, you were being ridiculous. Later, he apologizes. There are a couple times he says to John in here, I was wrong. I'm sorry. And I think that's one of the most important things is when you are overpowered, the ability to be humble is crucial for people not to die.
It's fair.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I know. There's this one trade in Action Comics. I checked out. I was like, should I give her Action? And I was like, I know. But anyways, the Eradicator plot, I did think went a bit long, but I think because it tied so much into the John plot, I did think it made sense. The Batman having a base on the moon in this one was really what was what are we doing here?
Yeah, that was weird.
But yeah, there are a lot of things in here that I really enjoyed, like the father-son moments. They rescue a crew that may have been up to no good, actually, at one point in here, etc. So there's a lot of stuff I think really works. I'm no longer showing, but I'm very big.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you were going to something else.
No. There were also really comedic flow. I did want to see. I mean, I know you also like dogs, even though you like cats.
Yeah, I have a dog tattoo.
You're friends with Neville. I loved this part where they're in the Fortress of Solitude with the Eradicator, and Clark said they're having an argument. He's like, "You mean you're going to eradicate my son?" And Crypto's reaction, that face, he was like, okay. I loved that. So there was some comedic like bits, and I honestly think Crypto came out great in here. He like sits on the Eradicator later. It was
Yeah,
a
that
good
was
use
good.
of Crypto. Lots of
I agree.
fun stuff like that was in here. But ultimately, where this kind of leaves off is he does get the glasses from Clark. So he's learning both sides of like what it means to control your powers and use your powers for good, but also kind of like what it means to be in their family, particularly, and then later in the trade too, like to be a part of the community. So overall, I liked actually the first volume much better. Volumes 3 through 5 are some of my favorite in here. 2 is actually one of my least favorites in the Rebirth run. But yeah, overall, I think even though the Eradicator took up too much pages, at least that was like the villain here, and we didn't keep switching monsters.
Sure. I agree with that. I have to say real quick, my mom texted me and said, Jessica doesn't seem too happy with your Superman thoughts. I'm trying my best, Jessica. I'm trying my best.
I'm not. It's all expected. Well, I told Kristan, my job here is not to convince you to like Superman. I want to get what you don't like. And I'm still struggling with that, but I'm crystallizing it a bit more. And like I just did my best to give you some kind of base to try. You know, like it wasn't my job to be like, you have to love Superman.
Sure, yeah. Hey, and I read them in
You
full.
Did. And you had a couple good things to say.
Well, yeah, and there are definitely good moments, and I will say I can step back and understand why someone is enjoying this.
Yeah, which I feel all the time when I read stuff. I'm like, this isn't for. I love that it's not for me, but I'm glad you love it. I think that's one of my favorite. Like,
no, honestly,
yeah,
absolutely.
So trade 2 is where it gets a bit like Monster of the Weeky, I think. But basically, it starts out where the Smiths, which is what they're going by, are kind of assimilating into life here. So like Clark, the League is questioning Clark a lot because, as you pointed out, that's not the Clark they've always known. So they don't know if they can trust this guy. Lois is trying to find a job. And they decide one of the ways of getting into the community is to go to a carnival, which I thought when I picked this part, I thought Kristan might like this carnival issue. What do you think about the carnival issue?
I did like the carnival issue.
Okay.
Yeah. It was fun.
Okay. Mm-hmm. There's an issue later on where Lois and Clark and Selena and Bruce go on a double date. And it's also like a similar vibe. And I was like, Kristan would like this issue. But it's way far down the line, so I didn't do it. But yeah, Clark's like, I'm not going to go get up to superheroine. But he secretly does. And by far and away, one of my favorite pages in this entire run, I just love it so much, is when they're riding this roller coaster.
Yeah.
And they're changing faces as Lois is realizing that Clark did get involved. So you can see she's getting angry. He's getting a little worried. She's angry. And little John is so oblivious. And his face is just so excited about the carnival. And they end on this one's so cute. I loved the art there. And I loved that storytelling on that page.
I have to say that issue is probably my favorite. Throughout the whole run, because I enjoyed that. I liked the coaster moment too. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I get that part.
Yeah, I liked that. The next kind of like storyline here is that John's working on a science project and accidentally involves a mother box. So him and Clark get transported to different places and spaces and time. And it's also happened. This issue was kind of a dedication to Darwin Cook because it references the losers and Dinosaur Island. And so there's kind of that storyline. I enjoyed that, but I could see where if you had no context for that at all, it would feel a bit annoying. But I don't know. How did you feel about that Dinosaur Island losers storyline and their interactions with him?
Seeing the dinosaurs was kind of cool, I guess, but yeah, I don't know. I definitely didn't have the connection. I knew it was like something because they mentioned it, but
yeah. I forgot it was here when it came up. I was like, oh, I don't know that I'm going to enjoy this like a second time, but actually I did really enjoy it. I liked It was interesting watching like Clark be a dad with John and another man watching, like another like military man. I thought that kind of changed the dynamic a bit. Plus, Crypto got to be a badass, and I'm just like always excited when Crypto gets to be a badass.
I do like Crypto. Yeah,
he's the best.
Yeah.
Neville does have a Crypto plushie. He's not torn up.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think he needs a cape, but you know that's another story.
He needs the cape. Anyways, he does. He does. The next issue is Christmas Break with Chatty Cathy, your favorite adult.
I do like her.
But then it's not. Chatty Cathy just goes away, and it really just turns into like 3 issues of the Super Sons and some training. The lesson here being they need to get along and like have teamwork, which is ironic that their dads are saying that because Bruce has been questioning Clark this entire time.
I did like that whole dynamic. That was fun.
Did you like the issue where it looks like that they chose for the cover where they're going to kiss?
Yeah, I do like that.
The first time I remember when the like solicits came out and I saw that cover, I was like, this is what we're going with. All right, I'm reading that.
Okay.
But yeah, I liked that part as well. And then let's see, we kind of get into the Frankenstein, which you hated with a passion. But essentially, Lois is applying for a job, and she finds out the lady who had applied is actually a monster's taken over her identity. And Frankenstein appears. Frankenstein's wife appears. They're having marital problems.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Kristan hated every second of it.
I was just like, that's how we're going to end this? Like, that, it bummed me out. I was like, wow. All right.
It's also a weird story to end this cycle on. It's the actual ending is like Frankenstein and his wife don't get together. I'm assuming that's what you didn't really jive with, right? Like they don't get back together.
Yeah. It was like, why?
Some things you can't come back from.
Yeah, I guess. But I was like, I thought we were reading a happy-go-lucky Superman here. Guess not.
I thought about why they did this, and I think, Lois has conversations with, she probably has a name that I've forgotten, but Bride of Frankenstein, about what's happened with their son. Basically, their son became uncontrollable. So there's a lot of parallels here. And so I think what we're supposed to take away is like, they don't want to become that. Like Lois and Clark know this as the potential of tearing them apart. This is not the same thing, but I actually have had friends who had children with catastrophic injuries. It's happened twice now, and I'm pretty young, and it is really difficult to watch what it does to their like marriage, what it brings out the good, but also I've seen where it really does tear you apart. And so I do think like I've heard a lot of people say when they read this run as a parent, it's very different. I can't relate specifically to that. But I wonder if there's also something to be said about like how it hits home about the dynamics between like 2 parents raising a kid that has a lot going on. So I think that's what we're supposed to take from it. But I agree. It was like kind of a bummer to end that way.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense though. And Freddie saying those issues are in Super Sons Omni. Later, they didn't get along at first. Yeah, they were good.
Oh, they're such a good dynamic. So yeah, it's... I don't regret, like you said, I don't really regret my picks because when I think about the alternative, I do think it would have been cheating to pick something self-contained, and I wanted to challenge myself. But I do totally agree with you. Like the flow was just interrupted a lot by those abrupt changes. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, cool. We did it.
That was a feat. Yeah.
We got through it.
Oh, man.
Now drama. Just
different drama.
Well, you know what? I don't think we have to go issue by issue with this.
No.
Unless you really want. But
no, I didn't take any flow notes. That's why I was excited about you.
Okay. I didn't either. Because really, again, we're dealing with a lot of high school drama. That's what we're dealing with.
That just keeps repeating itself.
Honestly, yeah. Mary Jane sees Spider-Man, becomes obsessed with him, wants to date him, which feels very far-fetched for everybody involved. And also, I'm like, how do you know he's your age? Like,
that's actually incredibly good point. I did not think about when I was reading
I was like, all right. I mean, he is, but like, she didn't know that. He's just some dude in a suit, right? Somehow she thinks, yeah. I will say that's another moment of like when Clark just takes off his glasses and whatever. That's more ridiculous and far-fetched to me. Because at least Peter has a mask on, but at the same time,
Mhm.
I'm like, that guy sounds like Peter, right? Like, why are you
Yeah, who
confused?
she, like, hears all the time because they go to school
Yeah,
together.
because
Mhm.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they became good friends. Her and Peter. They had a lot of study
Not
dates.
in not in the first, like, 10 issues, though.
Well, that's true. That's true. That's
In the
true. It's
first
just like
10
we're dealing
issues.
with Mary Jane. She goes out with
Yeah.
Harry. She, he's very sweet to her, but she's like, I don't care because I love Spider-Man so much. Because I don't
She
know if you know
also
this, but Mary Jane loves Spider-Man. Spider-Man loves Mary Jane.
does she?
Yeah,
My
does she?
I did like the plot where, Harry's loaded, obviously, and
Mhm.
so he was, like, paying for everything, so Mary Jane's like, "I gotta get a job so I can pay for stuff," and she, like, tries 1,000,000 jobs out. That was cute.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
endeared
yeah.
me to her.
There were little cute moments. Yeah, her best friend is Liz Allen, who's got a lot of thoughts and opinions and attitude, which sometimes is fun and sometimes it's like, okay, it's too much.
Sometimes she's right and Mary Jane is
Yeah,
wrong.
that's
There's
very
also,
true.
like, this kid in a Punisher t-shirt who appears multiple over here, who appears multiple times throughout, which is, like, so funny to me. He's just always wearing that shirt, which is realistic for teenage boys sometimes.
Listen, Mark, we're not doing 5 hours. In fact, we're gonna get through this fast. Like, yeah. So within the first one, she dates Harry. She doesn't date Harry anymore. She's still obsessed with Spider-Man. Wants to date him real bad. And you're like, how? Yeah, and I'm like, what happens here? She becomes friends with Peter and has study dates with him. That's at least in my first volume. Mine's more chunky
She
though.
she also becomes homecoming queen, and Flash Thompson is homecoming king, and that's Liz's boyfriend, so she's, like, jealous about that.
Hmm.
Also, Flash Thompson wears a cowboy hat for no reason
No
whatsoever in
reason
one
at
of the
all.
issues.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yep.
Chaos.
And then pretty much Spider-Man asked her out on a date.
That was cute.
And yeah, and she's like, I'm going on dates. So then she's heading out to meet him, and Peter's like, don't go out with that guy, go out with me. They're the same person. But
Also,
he was
what was Peter trying to do there?
I
Like, I
think
was a little
what I got from that was he was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I can't let this happen. I can't actually be Spider-Man and go out with her,
Mhm.
but I want to go out with her. So why don't I
Okay.
put my real self out there so then she doesn't go
Yeah.
and like I have to do this, but also I want her to know that,
Yeah. I
I'm the
wanted
one
more of his
caring about her.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I took from it, but I get that.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
get that.
The
So,
date is cute too.
yeah, the date is cute. They hang out.
They have
I
sandwiches on a web and
Yeah. Yeah.
cute.
But overall she realizes this guy's not going to give me anything. Like I can't know who he is. He won't take off his mask. He won't give me any personal information. Like I can't actually get to know him at all. So this fantasy that I had, like it's just not worth it.
Mhm.
Um by the way, can we just real quick
Mm.
this art change?
Do you mean the flashback where they're aged up in the past? Why, yes, I have that bookmarked.
I'm really bad at clicking this real fast. Here we go. Here it is.
Yeah, when she's
Yeah.
in the cafeteria, this is supposed to be like a year ago or whatever. And
Yeah.
she looks like she's in her 30s. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a lot.
And their teeth look weird in that.
It's so
Like olive.
everyone just has like the worst faces. I should have like bookmarked some of this. But I'm like, what's happening? It's also strange. I really hated that art change.
Yeah.
It's not great.
It's a weird plot too, because it's like she was emo for a minute and met someone named Jessica who I wanted her to
Yeah.
date. I knew it
I
wasn't
know.
gonna happen, but when they
Same.
were under this tree, I was like,
I was like, they're gonna date. It's gonna be great. Yeah. Same.
spoiler alert, they don't.
They didn't date.
But this, you want to talk? Hold on though. You know,
Yeah.
you were coming for my man earlier in the dialogue.
Yeah.
Now I know what. Now I know this is what it feels like to be unwanted, alone, to realize that everything blossoms and eventually withers and fades, and it's like dead leaves falling off the trees.
It's very
It was
dramatic.
Dawson's Creek coming at
Very
you
dramatic.
fast. Yeah. Anyways, yes, flashback art was weird.
But is it as dramatic as make like a sardine while I finish shutting your can?
They're corny in different ways, I think. I don't
I
know
mean,
if
it's
one's
fair.
better or worse.
You know what? It's fair. They both have quips. It's fair.
Hers is like melodramatic. Yeah.
There is a weird plot point with what was his name? The guy he's trying to catch and trying to catch. The looter? What was his name? That wasn't it. Was that it? Yeah, the looter. He's trying to catch the supervillain, the looter, right, who keeps stealing stuff, and he's like, I know
Oh
he's
yeah.
at this high school. And then you find out it's the counselor that Mary Jane's been seeing.
That was so awkward.
What a
The scene
weird.
on the roof was so
It was
uncomfortable.
so weird.
He was
Super
like, I
weird.
can do different things in this mask than I would normally do. And I was
I was
like,
like,
I'm
yikes,
very
bro.
worried about what you normally do.
Yeah. So at this point, like Gwen Stacy arrives. Mary Jane's finally like, I'm going to tell Peter how I feel. But of course, that's right when Gwen Stacy arrives. Gwen's hanging out with Peter a lot. She confides in Spider-Man to be like, but I like this guy. And Peter, as Spider-Man, thinks that she likes Harry again. That's not what's happening. She finally realizes, says, hey, I'm going to go tell him how I feel. She goes to the arcade where they're hanging out. She sees them kissing. She has a breakdown. It's just Mary Jane's up and down about what's going on and what she wants, and it's a lot. And she's a teenager. She's a typical teenager, I will say. It's very teenage. Yeah, and that's a back and forth and a back and forth.
Yeah, Harry's really creepy too. So Harry at the beginning, I was kind of like, okay, actually I'm fine with Harry. And then he does get creepy when they get back together. I also want to ask a question about, is Peter wearing a University of Kentucky shirt here?
Well, hold on. Let's make you big.
That's what it looks like.
You know what? It does look like that. Interesting.
Yeah, I just noticed that. Yeah, this was the trade where I was like, oh my God, I don't think I like Mary Jane. And at the beginning, I was like, Team Mary Jane and Peter. This is exactly where it lost me. It was just too much carnivaling. I don't, too much like a carousel. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, that's the downfall of the run for sure, where we're dealing with the back and the forth and the back and the forth. And ultimately, again, I think if you enjoy teenage drama or interpersonal high school relationships, that's what you're going to get. And I overall enjoyed it. I had the nostalgia. I read it as a teen. Makes sense for me to enjoy it then. So.
Yeah. Also, Gwen was so tall. Okay, let's talk also about Harry's style really quickly. Harry's style. He wore these popped collared shirts like all the time.
Yeah.
And this is my favorite one. There's nothing more to say other than I love this.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is where the plot picked up for me, where you see now Spider-Man starting a relationship with a new hero in town. And immediately, of course, I knew who this hero was. Who wouldn't? But you're like, oh, interesting stuff's happening. So I liked that part. I liked throwing that in. I have no clue if that happens in the main comics or not, but I liked it.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think she does that, to your point about, because she again asks him to reveal his identity while she's in costume, thinking like, I'll do the same for you. And he's still like, I don't think that's a great idea. And so, yeah, again, she's like, okay, I'm not getting anything. Yeah. How does this end? I can't even remember.
I was trying to remember that too.
This is where Harry finds out she's still in love with Spider-Man. It rips up a Spider-Man doll.
It's very dramatic. It's so very dramatic.
He's like, it's funny.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's funny too, because he's like holding it on his hand and he's squeezing it at first because he's angry, and then he just full on like rips it off in drama. But yeah, I remember how it ends.
They're at the park.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they have that conversation. Yeah.
First snowfall. Yeah, that was cute.
Yep, that's how it ends.
He looks really totally different though.
Oh my God! I mean, that art.
He's like an ass guy. He's like, I am now an Alan Cumming cosplayer. And I was like, I would read that.
That's so true.
Yeah, that's why it was hard. I mean, it felt so cyclical that I was like, it's so weird because how it started was so easy to read. And issues wise, slightly more, I think, than the issues that I gave you. But again, like written for a younger audience, like more compact. But it was so hard for me to get through the last like 1.5 of the volume. So
I agree.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But
So I do want to read what comes after this because my memory was it ended. And I was like, no, it didn't.
Oh, you got more, girl. You got like a
Yeah, it
whole
didn't.
little trade.
Yeah, which is like, is that Terry Moore stuff? Is that right?
I know Terry Moore did some covers or a cover of this run. I don't know if there's any interior art. Is there?
No,
Is
I
there
thought
Terry?
like he did the writing.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Superman Loves Mary Jane season 2. Writer Terry Moore. Artist Craig Russo. Colorist Guillaume Marie. Cover art Terry Moore and Christina Strain. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I'm gonna read it before I return it to the library.
Yeah, I need to read it for sure.
It looks like some new characters too are in this little bit as well. Also, I'm curious why they canceled this. Like, was it successful?
I'm not sure either. I don't know. I will say I don't regret rereading it. I had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you had a decent time too.
Yeah, I still want to read a Spider-Man book, but
yeah, I know. I know. That's my.
You know what? We'll have winter break reading program.
Yeah, we should.
Brief version, and we'll give it one more little go.
Yeah, you know what? I'm in. We can do it.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, no, I don't regret it either.
Alan Cumming Girlslayer is the name of my 9th grade slam poetry band. I love that.
Oh man, I do appreciate you taking this journey.
Yeah,
me, though, I want to say.
Well, and thank you as well for reading a not Spider-Man book.
Sure, no problem at all. And I'm going to read a bonus one. Well, let's go to Beach Reads. Please put in the chat what you are currently reading. And before we talk about what we are going to read next time, Kristan, you're really catching back up on life. So I don't know. Are you currently reading anything?
I read something this morning for Fangirls, actually, which did not happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, did I miss that alert? Or
someone canceled. I feel like you can guess who. It was not me. So I did read Flung Out of Space for that.
Oh, and I have to wait. Can I get a mini podcast from you later? You know I've had a rough week.
Sure. No, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you don't have to wait. I will say I loved it, of course.
And I'm also bummed because I wanted to read that with you all. So
if you're free Wednesday, that's when it's happening. So.
Let me know when it's happening because I might reread it.
Oh, I think it'll be 6 Eastern Wednesday.
Okay, I'll have to look at my calendar. I think I'm doing Old Reader, New Reader this week. I won't say what it is because I don't know if Maddie announced it yet or not. I have no clue how it works.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it'll just depend. I can't remember what I'm doing Wednesday, but I'll check for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm glad you loved it. And I definitely want to talk about it, whether I'm on talking about it with you or not.
Please. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I did just finish that this morning, but I am currently reading Girl Juice by Benji Nate.
Is that a manga or is that?
It's not. No.
Oh.
Nope. It's just who put this out? Drawn Quarterly. Yeah. So this is I've read some stuff by Benji Nate who I really like, and it's just so funny. Jessica, I think you would like it. It's very funny. If you check out Benji Nate's Instagram, you'll see like they put like pages of these comics. So they're all like 1-page comics. And it's really just about like this, what's her name? Bunny, I believe. This really flaky, like kind of valley girl. And her friends and her adventures. And it's just so funny. So it's just a good time. I've been dipping in and out of this.
Yeah, I like that.
Read a page and go back and forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is what I'm working on. I got this at the Hero store, actually. So during the after party, I picked this up. And I'm excited to read more of it. So yeah, I haven't really been reading much, but I did read this and I'm reading this. So I need to start.
That's a lot.
Some prose. I am. Wait, I'm listening to an audiobook as well. I'm listening to Elliot Page's new book, Page Boy. So.
Is it a memoir or autobiography?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been good.
Oh, you were doing good, actually.
I'm
trying. I am halfway through You Don't Have a Shot, which I started like 3 weeks ago. It's just been really hard, few weeks at work. But This is about two soccer players who are on rival teams, and then they go to work they're in high school. They go to work at a soccer camp and maybe fall in love. I don't know. Guess I'm gonna have to find out.
I
I would
feel
love
like
to
we know.
finish. I would love to finish this during Pride Month because I started it before.
That's one of the many library books I have checked out that I probably need to just take back because I'm not touching. But
You know what I told you too? I really liked this. I mean, I am really enjoying it. It's just been
Mhm.
really hard. I did read like 30 pages last night, so I'm doing things in it.
Something. Yeah.
I just finished rereading the first volume of Cosmo Knights because I
Mhm.
got the second volume of Cosmo Knights. And if you haven't read this futuristic queer space story, do.
It's
It's like a
great.
battle bots kind of story. It's free online. I actually think the second volume is also free online. I
I
think the
think
whole
so.
thing is.
Yeah.
And so has French flaps. Anyways,
Love them.
the I want to read the second one, so I'm just finished rereading this, and then I won't. People are like, I'm gonna say I won't wax poetic about this, and I won't, but people won't believe me because of what I did earlier. You got to talk about what you love. When we talked about doing this show, and Jess was like, "Hey, have you read Space Age?" And I was like, "Not yet, but it's on my list." And he was like, "Prioritize it." That night, I read the first issue online, and I loved it. And so I bought the hardcover, and Jess is correct. I don't know yet. I have to reread it again because I'm excited to do that. It's inching to be my favorite read of the year. It's definitely also inching to be my favorite first Superman read. And one thing that's cool is we're reading Silver Surfer in a couple weeks, and Mike Allred, same art, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what Mike Allred. So I agree. And what's weird is like now I feel like since Jess has said it, more people are hyping it up. But I am shocked this isn't getting more hype because I agree. It was like great, really fantastic. So that's what I'm
Love
reading.
that. Good. Good deal.
Yeah. Next episode.
Yeah.
This is a big one.
It's a big one.
This one was big. This was long and big and wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This is a big one in a smaller package.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that will be July 9th. We'll be back at the same time, 1 Eastern,
Mm-hmm.
on that Sunday. And we are doing a cat cozy. So here's the deal. I have a lot of cat cozy mysteries. I don't know if you know this about me.
I know it about you. I saw them
Just
in
knows
person.
about me. This one specifically is called Murder on the Prowl.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a Mrs. Murphy mystery series by Rita Mae Brown and Sneaky Pie Brown, her cat. There we go. Yeah, I'm glad you have it ready and prepared. That was an extra copy I accidentally had. So I gave it to Jessica.
Because when we were like, let's do a cat cozy, he was like, I'm sure you have two of the same kind, and I'm going to see you in a little bit. And
Absolutely.
She was like, maybe. She did.
Yeah.
My book was pre-owned in Louisville, Kentucky before.
Oh, well, there you go.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to get into this. I think it's like 9 or so books in because this is like a really long series. Hopefully we don't need any existing knowledge. I'm sure we'll be okay.
I think they're the kind you can just jump in and have a good time. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna do that. I think it'll be fun and silly. And even if this isn't something that interests someone watching, I think watching us talk about it would be a good time.
One thing we're both devastated about, mostly me. Kristan's like, I don't even know what you're talking about, so clearly I'm not.
I do know.
Oh, okay.
It's off YouTube, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna look again to see if possibly it's back on there. So I'm sure next time we'll talk about it, but I am familiar with Rita Mae Brown. I was shocked she wrote cat cozies. And when I learned this, prior to this even becoming a thing and us picking this book, I Googled this series and I learned there was a TV movie made with Ricky Lake. And it was all available free on YouTube. I can't remember what it was called, but it had a cool title. And I was like, Kristan, we should watch the movie and read the book. We were like, let's do it. And then when we put it on the list, I was like, oh, it's no longer available. So hopefully it's back up on YouTube and we can watch it because that would have been hilarious.
I would love to. Yeah. So tune in and find out if we found it.
Yeah. Murder on the Prowl.
Yep. And Freddy's would like to see if I enjoy more Mark Russell because I did not like Flintstones. Maybe. Oh, and apparently, have you not read any from him?
I don't think so. I was thinking about that when I was reading this, and I don't think so.
I think Civil War really took over and worked out for Marvel in 2007. That might be why they narrowed their focus and canceled this. Yeah, I know that was a huge thing. Okay,
it's just interesting because they were like season 2, and then it was like clearly it got canceled. That was not how long it was supposed to go.
Yeah, we will be doing that. When is that? I have the thing up. When is that? That's after the Cat Cozy, so July 23rd. We'll be talking about that for sure.
That one I hope breezes by because I'll be on out of commission on the West Coast for a week prior to that one, and so I have to like read it in a pretty short amount of time. But it looks compact. It doesn't look like it's going to take too long.
I think it won't be too bad.
Yeah. So. This was a lot though. We did like over 40 issues.
It is a lot for me after I hadn't read mostly any of it. I got back and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I felt the same. I don't have an excuse like traveling, but I read Secret Origin like 2 weeks ago, and then I didn't really read any of this till a couple days ago, and it was like a bunch to push through. So
yeah,
I'm proud of us.
Yeah, we did it. We did good.
We did it. And you stuck in with us for several hours as we chat about that. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you for everybody for watching, tuning in. Let us know what you're currently reading in the comments if you'd like. We love hearing recommendations and stuff.
Yeah.
And tune back in July 9th for the Cat Cozy. It's going to be ridiculous and fun. And we're going to have a new sponsor, new not sponsor. So you know you want to see that at least, right?
It takes a cat to write the perfect mystery.
So good. All right. Well, we'll see you guys then.